I don't like all the food sometimes that I taste, you know,
She said,
yeah.
the kid is your son. I said, no, you lying. Michael Jackson.
I am.
That is so high.
Pretty trees and nice, delicious children. Oh, I love children.
Shut up!
I love children. I love to bring them to Neverland
This makes me so
and
uncomfortable.
touch them and give
Giovanni.
them hugs. I'm Michael Jackson.
Relax.
I love children.
Relax.
Come to my magical tree. Come
Hey.
to my pretty tree.
So ugly.
I guess it's funnier in the past.
No.
Literally so ugly.
That was.
When I was doing it, my reaction was not as
So
potent.
uncomfortable.
This is a great metaphor for how humans prefer the past over the future. They prefer to rewatch
I like
the
that, I
moment
like
instead
it.
of taking it all at once.
In the
Oh,
present
Lord.
moment, yes, I see.
Lord.
Come to my pretty tree. My pretty tree.
Oh, that's where the camera is.
Now we're recording. I don't know what to say.
Oh, that's what the camera is.
Hello, greetings, humans of the earth. It is. Let's act like this
And
is a.
other places.
You know. Oh yeah.
Don't forget about those.
Humans of other places
Bro,
that are not on the earth.
we're literally just a show, eh?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, bro,
You guys need
niggas,
some sponsors.
niggas are looking at us.
Like I wanna tune in one
How
time
many people
and
watch?
Like I don't, bro. The Rico one got a lot of views.
Huh?
Yeah, it was like.
Maybe we should get more black people that play football.
I
in the-
think so.
Yeah.
more
I think-
black
I
people
think
that
that's-
play football.
I think that's one that's gonna
Shout
put
out
us
Rico.
on.
I actually miss him.
He sounds like. What did he sound like? Is that a charcoal?
How did you just take
We were
that? And
just
we were
talking
talking
about
about this for maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah, so it's like a charcoal like cleanser. It purifies the water.
Why isn't the water turning black?
What?
Because it's solid.
It purifies. It's not like crushed charcoal. I mean, when I first put the lid on, I took a little bit of.
See, when I saw it, I thought it was one of the little things it's like the filters that you just put
Doesn't
in the water.
the metal
Nah,
rod
this one
give
costs
the water
$50.
odd
Do you get
taste, though?
replacement
Like, don't you kind of
charcoals that
feel
you
it?
put in it?
No, it's like a.
Or
Because
is
I
it just
remember
one
I used to
charcoal,
have like a
one-time
water
charcoal
bottle
use?
I think it's
that like
one-time
you can like
charcoal use.
infuse like fruits in.
But it
And then I
lasts forever,
always
it's a
there was like a
stone.
metal
Don't
part to it, and I
relate- what
always
is this?
felt like that weird metallic taste in the water. I fucking
Are you
hated it.
experimenting?
Yeah, I don't taste the metal yet. I don't think it'll be an issue.
Oh.
Well, I mean, this
Maybe, like,
water
stainless
bottle's
steel or something.
metal.
I think it's a stainless steel like thing.
Yeah,
I
isn't.
mean, $50 it better be. That's a good investment.
$50.
What the fuck makes a difference between stainful and stainless steel? Like, how do they know?
Stainful steel.
Like, how do they know?
It has a lot of different qualities. In my design class, bro, they were talking about like, you can never just say that's plastic or that's metal because there's like hundreds different kinds of each. Plastics, metals, like,
Different types of plastic.
yeah.
You're
Million-
sitting right
like,
here,
so
and I'm gonna
many.
keep staring at it if you don't wipe it away.
Can I lick it
Thank-
off?
Yeah.
Oh, it's already
Like
off.
why?
Why not?
Wait, here.
Oh my god, I think our mic is off.
Uh-oh, we can just start again.
With the moment.
Do you like not test out mics?
Hey,
Oh, yours is off.
Hello?
Oh, I mean, you didn't really say anything so far, so you.
I mean, I was
He's
talking
been
about the
talking for most
charcoal.
of it. He's actually said most things.
I'll raise the.
I've said most
She
things. I
said-
said
she
most
said-
things.
she said-
I said most
of
things.
Okay. Actually, there was a question I had to think about on my way here. Specifically for you, what's like your? You would just say your relationship with? Oh man, it sounds so corny.
With
now,
Allah?
I'm saying with yeah. With
I hate.
with like God or like the everyday. Like you pray.
In
a lot?
what sense? I used to pray a lot. I'm trying to kind of get back into things. I've been praying like really off and on. I prayed a lot. Well, it's kind of a cop out because I prayed a lot like during like midterm season, and then like when like shit's like not going well, like I like.
when you don't have as much time.
Yeah,
to pray.
this is like the conversation that we had.
Yeah.
first
Well, the
time.
thing is as a Muslim, like it's a lot harder to just pray because we have like a specific routine we have to go through, and I think
intricate process. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is. I think I've already told like you about it and why I think like the multi-faith center like kind of is in a good space for
I
Muslims.
saw
How come?
space. I saw space when they could go watch themselves.
Okay,
They
yeah.
like a
So
space.
The
that
abolition,
they have a
the
different room
abolition
too.
rooms.
Yeah.
we do. So
Yeah.
the reason why I was telling we had this conversation like I don't
Yeah,
even know
tell me
how
about
we
the washing.
yeah.
part.
So like you have to. It's called wudu. Like you have to purify yourself before you go pray. So you have to like wash like your body kind of things, like your hands, your face, like your areas,
Right.
stuff like that. Every like your feet too, the crown of your head. Also like you can't be on your period and pray. Like you can't be you can't go to the bathroom after you've like purified yourself, or if you have to like re-go do it. You have to
It's like a
redo
whole
it.
ceremony and,
Yeah.
like, steps that you have to.
Yeah, exactly. And
So, are you saying you can't just be like, I don't know, on a bus and you just go, like?
well, you can give thanks, but that's not technically prayer.
So it has
Because-
to be like a formal thing.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
like
it's
we
very
have
formal.
so I'm Shia, so it's like a little bit different than like how most people do it too. So like, for example, for myself, like because I'm not a hijabi, I have to like go put on like a whole getup where I have to like wear a whole
It's kind of tight.
like a robe
Extra
kind of thing.
cloth.
Yeah, I do, and I have to cover my hair.
Kinda tight.
You can't you can't be on your period if you've like went to the bathroom, if you've like done something to unpurify yourself, you gotta go purify yourself. That was
Is this
insane.
like in the book or is it like culturally like
No, that's in the book.
okay?
Yeah. I find that there is like a really big for my experience, I guess, like religion and culture are very much separated, but a lot of my culture is grounded in the way that my religion is interpreted, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So just to go back to like the whole prayer thing, just so I don't like kind of go away. Yeah. So for me, I pray 3 times a day, but there's 5 different prayers that you're supposed to do a day. So like, there's
Oh, each one's like different.
yeah. So like the first one is called Fajr or
I
Subah,
didn't know
depending
that.
on like, I guess what you call it. So that's like our morning prayer. It usually happens between like 3 in the morning and 5 in the morning.
So what you say changes each prayer, or is it just the entire ritual itself changes each prayer?
The ritual of getting clean stays, but it's how you pray it is different and how many times you pray it. So like, there's something called a rik'ah, which is like how many times you like go like
Right,
on your knees
prostrate.
pray. Yeah.
The
And you
bowing.
keep going up and then going down type of thing. So like for subah, it's 2. Like there's dhuhr and asr, which are like your noon to like early afternoon prayers that that for Shias we combine. So it goes like subah is 1, dhuhr, asr are together, and then maghrib, isha, which is like your evening and like night prayers are together, while Sunnis pray it individually, all 5 prayers individually.
Okay.
And
That
like
makes sense.
each prayer like contains a different amount of rak'at, and like yeah, but for the most part the format is the same. Like you say the same things, you worship the same things. But again, between the 2 religions, like the major subdivisions of Islam, you kind of say different things
Sunni and
sometimes.
Shia, right?
Yeah, and you also pray it a little bit differently. So from what I understand from my Sunni friends, they pray with their hands folded like across their chest or their waist or something like that, and then I pray with my hands by my side.
What's the division between them? Like, what's the difference?
Isn't it the extra shit that they
It's a lot-
disagree on?
Kind of. It's more so like the. So, for example, for me, I believe after Prophet Muhammad, who like the person that follows him would be like his direct family, as opposed to what they believe. I believe is, from what I understand. So, if I'm wrong, my bad. It is like he appointed other people to like kind of follow.
Right.
Right.
His disciples.
Yeah, kind of.
So
I don't know how to.
one says people just followed him, and then the other said he made people follow him.
No.
He chose.
No,
He chose.
So,
one is
so he
like
chose
familial.
people outside. Yeah, one
Yeah,
is familial, and then
Oh,
one is
okay.
just he
Okay, that
appointed
makes
other
sense.
people.
Okay.
So like for me, I believe that like his family was.
And do the teachings like vary with the 2
What do you mean by
branches? Like,
teachings?
It's kind of like nepotism, but just kidding.
I guess.
Because it's like if it, like on the basis to which they disagree, there must be a deeper reason than just who he chose, right?
So I can't speak on that because I'm not as aware as to what like I don't I only know like the very basics of like why we're so different, because like I grew up with like my immediate Shia community where I went to mosque and like where I went for like specific religious events. Like I would go there and like obviously it would like only Shias would go there because we also like celebrate different things. But for the most part, all my friends are Sunni, and like a lot of their things are a little bit different than mine. And it's always like minuscule things. So like for example, Ramadan, we all start the same, relatively the same. It's always like maybe a day or two off or the same. I'm so proud of you. We all fast the same way, but breaking fast is a lot different. So because we can join our last two prayers, like Maghrib and Isha, together, our late prayers tend to be later on in the day, while their Maghrib starts a little bit earlier. So like, for example, last year for them, they would break their fast at like 8:30, but I would be breaking my fast at 9:30. So like whenever I would go out with my friends to like break fast, like we would all be like finishing at different times. So they would either like kind of suck it up and just like wait for me to break fast and then we would all do it, or like they would break fast and I'd just be posted like seeing everyone eating like, you know, their shit, and I'd just be like, oh, okay, cool. I'll meet you guys in like an hour. And that's kind of how it works. But for the most part, the stories are different.
Alright, so boom, you done cleaning up. You walking into wherever you're gonna pray. Step by step, what happened? What do you say? What do you do? In what order?
So it also, so it depends on what you're praying. It depends on.
Let's say morning prayer.
Okay, so Fajr or Sabah.
Fajr.
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 Badger.
Fajr.
Fajr.
There you go. There's an I, not an A.
Go ahead.
It's an R roll.
Yeah,
Fajr.
I just
Thank
wanna-
you.
Okay.
Fajr. Badger.
Fajr. It's disgusting.
So when you do the Fajr, how does that go?
When you perform Fajr.
Yeah.
No, that's why I was telling you why the multi-faith center seems like, because it's open to all, which is cool, great, but in reality it doesn't work
Right.
for
In
Muslims.
actual practice,
It's the best
Yeah.
attempt at keeping everyone included.
Which is cool, yeah. But the thing is like with Muslims, like not everyone like our prayer room, for example, like my prayer room, usually where I pray would be in like my older brother's room because A, there's more space, and B, like that's the cleanest one because Ali no longer lives like in my house, my older brother. So there's like a lot of space that's always untouched and it's always kept. So it has to be a place that like isn't a busy place or that is cleaned right before you pray, because if you're
Right.
gonna purify yourself but you're just gonna go
Right.
pray somewhere that's dirty, like
Environment has to be.
That room
Exactly.
is
So,
not.
like,
that
I'm
room
not
is
saying that like
clean.
people that like
What?
Oh, I was just gonna say that the multi-faith room is
It's
like
not-
not
yeah.
super.
The carpet's like.
It's.
must-
I mean, like
that's
yeah,
my
they're
point.
not gonna
So
clean
like
it.
I've
yeah.
been there before, and like you're not obviously not gonna they're not
We
gonna
do
have
yoga
someone
there.
clean it before everyone prays, and like
Imagine.
people like have access. So, like you guys aren't gonna do like the whole like purifying ritual. So like that will then taint the environment that I'm raging.
we do
I'm
not
not saying that you're
purify
dirty or
ourselves.
like
Yeah,
that
I'm
that
dirty
you're
as fuck.
unkept, but I'm saying
I'm saying I'm dirty.
sure.
I
Yeah, but like
claim that.
also like you can't wear your outside clothes when you're praying. It's kind of like going to bed. Like you obviously wouldn't like wear jeans and a sweater, or like even if you're wearing sweats, like you'd switch out and you'd shower before you go to bed
Try me.
for the most part.
Try
me.
But like yeah, like it has to be a level of cleanliness. And like
Right.
It's a ritual.
yeah. And then like you go in, you have to find the direction of like where
Right.
you're supposed to pray, because you have to pray in a specific direction. I believe
You need to.
Does it have to do
You
with where
need
the
to
sun
pray
is?
to.
no, it
you
has
have
to towards Mecca.
towards
Like,
Mecca. So it would be like. I mean, I guess
I
it would be
f-
east.
depends on where you stand. Like I know at my crib I have to face like towards my backyard.
Wait, let me just.
And like I don't know how like
Where is
Orient
east
myself.
What,
Myself.
what is Mecca
Orient
actually?
myself.
Like, what is the
Where
like?
is-
Is it
That's
is it
north.
man-made?
South.
Mecca is
So you'd face this way.
Oh, I'm such a bad Muslim. It's either
Because I know
the-
it's like it's a holy place.
Oh, no,
right?
you- sorry.
So
You'd
that
face
little
this way.
black box.
Yeah, like is it man-made or like what is the story behind it?
The story behind it, it's
No, it's natural.
wanna
It just like
yeah, it just
showed up.
appeared. God, I'm kidding. Ooh, wow. I can't. For some reason, it's blanking to me, but it's either the death place or the birthplace of His Holiness,
Right.
which is Muhammad. But like, Ooh, I want to say his death.
I think it's the death place.
I want to say it's
I'm
as
pretty
a non-Muslim. Look at her; she knows more than me. But yeah, no, I want to say
It's been a
death
while
place.
since I've like really
North
looked
is
into
here.
anything. The north is like more or less this
South
way,
is
and so
here.
then east is
So
this
you'd be
way.
praying this way.
That's what. I said west at first, and then I was like, wait a second, I'm like mixing myself.
Yeah,
up.
so I'd be praying towards this.
Crazy. It's a fucking compass.
Compasses
As long
are
as you have
so.
battery.
Yeah, as long as you have battery.
But yeah, it's actually one of our pillars. You have to go attend before you die. But you don't. You should.
Wow.
Ideally.
Pilgrimage.
Ideal.
Required
Yeah,
pilgrimage.
a required
Exactly.
pilgrimage.
Well, it's kind of like
It's
I
going
think
like,
to
that's
yo,
so important.
God
like
said,
to
yo,
Christus.
you
Like, it's-
Pilgrimages
have
are
to
so
do this.
important. I need to like.
It is. I would love to
wanna
go
do
someday.
that.
My mom wants to go.
I wanna
Maybe
go
not to
every
Mecca,
holy
but like
place that
yeah,
exists on earth.
To
same.
go
I'm like trying
to go to Mecca.
get
When you
high.
get there, you know you have to shave your head.
I'll shave my head twice. I don't give a fuck.
like me
Twice.
too. No, I just
No,
cover
no.
it.
I'll
Okay,
shave-
I was
I'll
like,
shave-
No, we don't have to shave our head.
I was like,
But men have to shave their heads.
So what do you
I'm not
say
ready for
the
that.
morning? Are you allowed to say what you say? The morning
still
prayer?
attached
Yeah,
to
but
my
it's in, like, Arabic, no one
bodily
can understand. Like-
existence.
Well,
Roughly,
is
what
there
is
a rough translation?
You are literally just. It's
Thank
it's
you for
basic.
this morning.
No. It's actually it's. Let me see if I can like actually translate. It's
'Cause,
like
like,
I'm
Christians-
getting ready. Like you literally say like, I will be now performing like
Wow.
Fajr prayer.
That's
And you kind of just like you just affirm your religion. That's basically what it is. Like
I am
you.
Muslim.
It's more so that it's like
I am
like
Islam.
I believe that there is one and only
Okay,
God.
that's fine.
I
Yeah.
follow our Prophet Muhammad. I this.
Oh, that's sick. Yeah.
And then you
Just a
do
reminder
yeah, and then you like say a verse of Quran, like a surah.
of your choice. Doesn't matter.
No, you do have to say Surah Al-Fatiha, which you also say when someone passes away. That's
So
like
we
something
could
that
say
you
this
say.
is almost like someone saying Our Father prayer. Like you.
So our
actually
Father who
don't know
art in
what Our
heaven,
Father is.
hallowed be
No,
thy
to be
name.
like, I only know in French. I don't know.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, okay, yeah. Then that's what it is.
is.
Yeah, I went to a French Catholic school for the most part. Haha. Shout out. No, don't shout out my fucking high school.
I wish I knew it in
Nos
Spanish.
offenses comme nous pardonnons aussi à ceux qui nous ont offensés. Ne nous soumets pas à la tentation, mais délivre-nous du mal. Amen.
Rama.
I mean-
I fucking love that prayer.
I love the prayer too. I wish I knew it in Spanish, though. I only know it in English, and it sounds like
It
nicer
sounds like
in,
shit.
in
It sounds
Spanish.
like shit in English.
All
No, it
things
doesn't.
sound
Our
nicer in a
Father.
different.
It's still, it's,
well, you're literally saying it just in a different word.
yeah.
Like why does it?
But French and Spanish are like more, I think, like more beautiful sounding when it comes to like
they're more sensual.
like
is what you're saying.
like I mean, like when I pray,
If
like
you-
I pray in Spanish. Like
Of
I don't
course.
pray in
But that's also
like
your
I
mother
can't
tongue, so
pray.
it's a little
No,
bit
it
different.
isn't.
Oh, it's not?
I was born in Canada. Like I grew up speaking English and Spanish at the same time, but like
Yeah.
because I was
You learned it
surrounded
from your parents.
But I mean,
from the
how do you
environment?
from my dad. Yeah,
what language did you speak to your parents?
Like I didn't ever work with
most
formal
Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Creole, I just know it.
my parents like really tried to like make sure that I was only speaking Spanish at home because they knew that I would learn English. But like inevitably, like my mom's white, and so like I grew up speaking English with her.
Does your mom? Yeah, I'm assuming your mom knows how to speak Spanish.
Yeah,
like,
she taught
fluently.
herself.
Oh, that's so
yeah,
cool.
I mean it's like she tries very
Yeah,
hard.
I love that. I love that for
It's
her.
pretty good, like
Isn't
considering.
it weird how
man.
you learn language? Okay, first of all, Creole I learned just from my fucking just niggas being around and talking
Right.
it. And I'm just like,
Right.
okay, this
Yeah.
okay, this has to mean this. And then
I remember
English-
learning English, and
Bro,
like I
English,
remember learning
I have
English.
no idea when
How
I
you
just
learned
woke
it,
up
yeah,
I
and
was
you
like-
just knew it.
And I was like, "Yo, what's good, guys?" Blah blah blah. Because I like when I look back on my fucking gaming like channel videos days
So cute.
from like 2012,
So cute.
2012, 2014.
The cutest
my
thing
English
I've
was
ever
so
seen.
Ass. And the accent was
Your
accent was
no your
so
English was
thick.
actually fine. It was just the accent that was a little bit
it was
off.
so you could tell I was not familiar, right?
Yeah.
Romeo.
And then
Familiar.
just naturally,
Not
You know what's so interesting is like obviously I like grew up in Canada and like English is like basically my like it's my first language. It's like it's my primary language, right, that I've spoken my entire life, and I am like a native speaker of English where I'm not a native speaker of Spanish, and like people can hear that I'm not a native speaker.
It's because of your accent.
It's because I have like a little bit of an accent, but it's just like what is really really interesting though is that I find that like because I grew up around like somebody who spoke English as a second language, I like picked up on like a lot of the ways that things were said, and I still
funny.
because I learned to think in Spanish at the same time as I learned to think in English, I still partially think in Spanish, and my like the construction of the words is different. And so one time I was like had to do this narration thing for my high school. It was like the 100th anniversary. I had to do like a voiceover for like a historical video that was going up or something. And I started speaking and I was like, I'm a pretty good like public speaker. Like I'm not scared to like get up in front of people and like talk and whatever. I can speak. I can like move my mouth and like make words come out. And it just sounded
She
like
does speak the most, so it makes sense.
I do.
She does speak the
What
most
can
words.
I say? I've spoken the most words. I speak the most
Exactly.
words.
There you go.
But I like kept saying like stuff. I kept mixing up and everything. And the guy was like, "Oh, like don't worry about it, Paloma. Like you're doing your best. Like you're doing like a good job."
Thank you
But like
for the
he's like
affirmation.
I forget the exact words he said, but it was like he was implying that like English was my second language and that I didn't know how to speak English. And I was like,
I was like, yo, I'm fucking vibing.
he's like, that's like pretty good for somebody, you know, who didn't.
He's basic.
But he was patronizing, but like I wasn't offended. I was just like, I went home. I was laughing so hard. I was like, I really like fucked up this language so bad that this guy thought that like English
don't
is not
know.
my second language.
That's so funny.
It was really wild. But I do think that like every now and then I speak like I speak a different language. Like I don't speak like I only speak English.
Do you when
Like the
you
construction of the
talk
words,
naturally? Is it
sentences.
just all in like? Do you naturally speak English?
Yeah.
Really?
I'll find myself thinking in French sometimes.
I'll
Like,
naturally
every
speak
now
Arabic
and
to people
then.
I know that don't speak Arabic. Like when I get angry, I'll
Oh.
sometimes, or when I'm trying to say something, I'll say it in Arabic, and I'm like, you don't know what
Oh, there are
Yeah,
moments.
like, I'll
there are
say
moments where that
things where I'm
happens.
like-
It's probably more frequent for you though
like
than it is for
full-on
me. Yeah.
sentences. Like when I'm explaining things, I remember I got caught. My friend, I was explaining. I remember it vividly. It was a few months ago, and I was saying something to my friend Esther, and I was explaining it to her, and she goes,
Oh,
"Time
my middle
out."
name's Esther. That's my mom's name. Sorry, keep going.
Esther!
I miss Esther. Shout out Esther. Yeah, no.
Esther!
I was saying something to her, and then she was like, "What are you? You're saying words
Is
that
in Arabic-
aren't in a language
Okay,
that I have the
yeah,
option
yeah.
to
In
your head, you're
understand."
like,
This
I'm speaking
that doesn't happen to me when I'm speaking English, but like because I speak like a little bit of French. I was in like K to 12 French immersion, and I have like such a hard time like speaking French because it just goes straight into Spanish, and I don't even know that I'm like doing it, and I'll be like
That's
speaking
so-
to my
They're very
friends.
similar too.
They're so similar, and it was like that was an advantage when I first started learning French because people were like, "Oh, you're so advanced," and then it became like the biggest disadvantage in the world because now like my like sister speaks French. I would say like almost better than she speaks Spanish most of the time,
Oh, fire.
but I speak Spanish better than I speak French.
I
And
don't know
it's
how to
because
speak any language, like ever. Like I find myself, I have such a really hard ability to like to just pick a language when I'm speaking and then stick to it.
Yeah.
Because I will forget certain words in like
It's all about
basic
expression,
words.
So it's like if you have to switch from one to the other, fuck it.
Do you think in Creole?
No, I think mostly in French. I count a lot in French.
Yeah,
I count a lot in French too, even though I don't know why I do it, but I count a lot in French.
I think it's easier to count in French until you get to the
Well,
20s.
until you get to the 20s and it's like
Why
90 sweet.
21?
Like what? like what on earth?
22.
Okay, no one says it. You say it really quickly. 21, 22, 23, 24.
Nah, I
Like it's
prefer
really.
20.
But then it's like
I prefer 20.
I don't count in
I
Arabic
prefer
ever.
20.
Counting in Arabic is so ugly.
Well,
think I-
go
I
1 to
think
10.
in
Go 1 to
English.
10. Go 1 to 10.
1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 9 10.
sounds like you're having a whole
Each
conversation.
Like yeah,
Go.
Nah.
Oh, nada.
I don't know what we're speaking now.
Hachi.
What is this?
Ju.
Ichi ni sanshi go.
I'm assuming this is
in
Japanese.
Japanese. Ichi ni
Oh.
sanshi go.
That's Japanese.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's
Do
all I
you,
know.
do you think I'm assuming it's. I don't know what the language is in Nepal. I'm assuming it's just
Nepali?
Nepal. Yeah. Do
There's a
you
few. I think there's two.
do you
main
speak it
languages.
fluently?
Do you guys? Is there?
I think I've asked you this conversation. but I
Okay,
don't
you
remember.
can
Where's
you can
Sanskrit
speak
the
it though.
most?
You speak
I
on the
can- I
phone
can
with your
speak
mom,
it, but
and
not
it like
fluently,
and then you're like, wait,
you
I
think
can
in
barely
English?
speak. I'm like,
No, because you guys don't speak it, so it's like it's hard
That's
to tell
true. That's true.
what I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong. When I went to Nepal last year or 2 years ago, like I would literally, bro, when people would just like they speak so fast, like, and I was just
Wasn't every language.
Yeah, like I would only understand like 70% of the words, and I was just like smiling, like, hey.
that's so interesting because I have like for me it's like I have no troubles understanding people speaking Spanish as long as they're speaking like in a Peruvian or like a pretty clear like accent. And like they can go really fast, and I can also speak pretty fast, and I have like no trouble keeping up with it. But as soon as they start speaking in like an accent that's like harder for me to understand, like Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, like even like Colombians sometimes speak really fast, and it's beautiful,
they
but I
speak
can't
so
understand
fast.
a fucking word they're saying. Like I gotta put
Spanish
on
is
subtitles,
just
man. Like every now and then.
Speak so
Like,
fucking
for
fast,
real.
bro. Like,
Colombians speak
Colombian
so
friends,
fast, and it's like.
it's just It's grrr, and then the other ones go grrr.
And then yeah, no,
It's like Jesus Christ.
I don't know, but like it's more to do with the accent than like the speed. I find like
Arabic accents. Arabic in general is such an ugly language to hear. Like it's not a.
weird.
It's
It's
not
very,
a
like,
nice.
it's very aggressive.
aggressive.
We were like talking
Yeah.
about how
Creole
you were
I don't
saying
think.
like
I don't think it's aggressive.
It's very
Like
the
aggressive.
sound of it. The sound of it.
But I
is-
think
so
I think
aggressive.
I think it's just because Arab
Can't
people are
sleep
so
talking
like
Arabic.
are kind of aggressive in nature, like
Well,
because if
language,
you've seen.
language comes from culture as well. It's
I
shaped-
understand
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah.
saying. I'm saying like the language itself. Like if you just take Arabic as a language, just like even phonetically, the sounds that we make, they're not actually aggressive, but it's the way that we make them.
like their expression.
Like
of
for
it.
example, like in like for each culture, there's like kind of like a stereotype that comes with it. So like Lebanese people are seen as like kind of like the most effeminate. Like our men are seen as like very effeminate men. Like
feminine.
yeah, like
yeah,
our men, like
effeminate,
Lebanese
so the
men.
non-masculine.
Yeah, so our men are like a lot of men, like Arab men will think like it's like a thing to think that like Lebanese men are like the most like
I
flamboyant.
don't think I've ever met a Lebanese man. Just
I know
kidding.
what
I don't know.
Really? Oh, okay.
I met no.
I know
I've
what
met
you're
very
talking
few though.
about.
Like because
Yeah.
also our Arabic is also
Some of them be glamorous, bro.
a lot of our no, but that's the thing. Like if you
And
hear
compromise with some-
like
some manliness.
Iraqis like Iraqis speak
basically
Arabic,
gay.
like that to me is all like super aggressive. Like I can
Oh,
understand
okay.
it, but like
The
it's-
delivery is, like, more
and they're,
guttural.
and they're like
Yeah.
and they're seen as like very very masculine. While Lebanese people like our Arabic also is like a little bit intertwined with French, so we have like the way that we say
A
hi is
word?
like salam, but like
That's so
in
weird.
Lebanese like we
When
say
your-
bonjour.
When your mom
Merci,
speaks, I'll
like-
hear some shit. Like she'll
Yeah.
say some shit, and I'm like, okay, are you young niggas speaking French?
Yeah, like
Yeah,
our,
that's
it's,
so
it's just intertwined. It's because we
strange. I
were
didn't
colonized
know
by the
that.
French, but
That's
that's
bad.
neither here nor there.
Wow,
Um,
history's so beautiful.
Yeah, I know, I
Right?
love it.
And
but,
I mean, like, it's
but
just
yeah,
crazy.
because we
Wow.
also speak French, like they say that like oh, it's like super effeminate, like bonjour, like they like kind of make fun of us. So like it's like for me. We're the most like you think that my Arabic is like super aggressive or like when I speak it it's super aggressive, but like we're seen as like
Right.
the bottom tier of like of how like
aggressive.
roughness. Like
Intensity.
Lebanese people are seen as like the most like dainty, very like oh my
It just
god,
sounds,
elite. Not elite.
It's just,
Elite
like-
like sounds like we're superior, but
It
like
just sounds like
very.
symbols, like
I don't know how to explain it, but
I
you know what I'm
think
saying.
Weird.
something else that's like very interesting is like with the different sounds that people like make in their languages, people like
It's all play on
hold
top of
their
that.
faces and like their
The second
jaws in
chapter
like different
is-
positions.
Mhm.
And then oh yeah, also this is something I think about like so much is like how like does immigration and like learning like or being forced to learn a second language like most like part of the way through your like linguistic development kind of impact your capacity to express yourself or to like think things
My
through.
mom gets so frustrated
Does-
trying to speak English. Like
And-
it visibly gets her angry trying to speak English.
But like what's this, I think like that's like such a given when like somebody like learns it a language like when they're already in their 20s or something and it's like really frustrating because they consciously know like I have this articulation that isn't
Right.
fully coming out. But what if you're like you guys came here when you were like what 10 years old, right? Around like like hitting puberty and like just starting to really being able to articulate
starting a
yourselves.
fucking nut on myself.
But like starting to
Interesting way of
like
expressing
trying to like articulate yourselves fully, and you're also at this point where like you're starting to, you have to learn an entirely new language and all the mechanics of the language prior to like actually feeling comfortable. And so I wonder like how does that actually like impede your capacity for like self-expression throughout your life?
I think it,
Or
I
like,
think it,
does it put a stunt in the learning, or does it like impede some parts of it, or does it like
I think it
grow
has
some parts of
something-
it? Like,
has
I don't
something
know.
To do with your I think it has a lot to do with self-confidence too over time.
Yeah,
'Cause
okay, that's
spoken,
true.
Like I've spoken to people and I've been around people where it's like, let's say you meet someone who doesn't speak fluent English,
Yeah.
and then you're speaking to them and you're just oozing through what you're trying to say, and then they're here spending double the amount of
Time trying to
and
figure it
then you
out.
stop
Yeah.
mid-sentence to try to find the word. And then, of course, like over time, creates a sense of inferiority because it's like I'm trying to basically communicate to you, and it's like I can't get the word out, and I'm looking at you, looking down on me, like it's okay. Like I feel like it creates this sense of like
imbalance.
power where it's like the person feels more powerful than you and you don't know it. So if you're in an environment, let's say a fucking like immigrant person, fucking 30 years old, they had to move out whatever condition they were in, and then now they're here. They don't understand shit. They have to live, but they
It's
don't
so scary.
understand like how to speak to people to ask them I want to earn a living. So then like I feel like it creates this whole thing in your head when you start to see yourself
Complex,
a different way.
Inferiority complex. Yeah.
I wonder if it's like that in all cultures though.
I feel like it is.
Yeah, I feel like I'm talking more about like development and stuff, but I know what you're getting at. I feel like those are two different things, like social alienation versus like the actual like I'm talking more about like kids especially. I think is like pretty interesting because like they're gonna be able to like, I don't know, assimilate to an extent, right? They're not going to feel as alienated from society as their parents are for most of their lives. But like, I think language is like really intrinsic in like development, and especially when you're like, I don't know, between the ages of like 3 and 10, the brain is so plastic, and it's like, if you have to start from scratch learning a new language at like 3 or 4 years old, it's basically like, especially if your parents are like, don't keep speaking this language at home, or like you're gonna learn English, et cetera, et cetera. It's like those are 3 years of learning.
I mean, I've heard
that are
some
like
shit about
really
in biology about how your mouth jaw area shapes.
Yeah, we just
depends
said
on
that.
The languages you speak to, which is why some people, even if they're very good grammar wise in English, they'll still have a thick accent because their mouths
are shaped to speak that way.
Where it's like they can't say it. Like it's formed to speak the language that they grew up with.
Yeah.
So when a parent comes there, the reason why they can't adapt so well is because one, they've like it's big. I don't know if that's true or not, but basically you're born in.
That's definitely
like,
true.
From baby like ages, from young ages, you're capable of speaking every language because of course like you're a sponge. So any language that comes to you over time, you'll adapt it and you'll start to learn it. And then what happens is, as a baby, since you're such a blank canvas, when you start to fill it with like I don't know the color of red for English, it takes more space the more you use it, right? So it's like you start to shed away
the other
every
language.
other language that you can speak.
See, yeah, this is what I'm talking about.
So
it's
then
like,
you
what does
start
that do to
having-
you? Like, what does that do to you? Like, I don't know, man. I think about that so often because, like, I mean, I feel like that hasn't like happened to me too much because I was forced to learn like both languages like pretty consistently throughout my childhood. Although like obviously my Spanish isn't as like good as my English.
So does your
but
mouth
it's like
adapt to be able to speak both? Like what happens? Like if you grow up speaking multiple languages.
My boss speaks Arabic at work, well, and English too. Like with his mom, he speaks Arabic. So, like
that's my guy.
He's gonna like he'll be speaking Arabic, and then if he has to say an English word, it'll be in an Arabic accent. Like it won't be.
It
It happens
like if
to
it
me
comes
so
out of it,
often,
yeah.
And I feel so stupid when it happens because I'm like, I speak English.
Yeah,
And
this is
he's
like a
"No,
whole
you have
language
to,
I
you have
speak.
I'm like, no, because again, my accent is like very, like I can speak English normally, but then whenever like
when you're making the switch.
it makes me feel so stupid because I'm like,
Happens
I
to me
don't,
too.
where did this come? Like
It happens. It
Why
happens.
is this not happening?
It happens to me when it's like I've just spent like a long time in like a Spanish speaking like environment, and then I like have to like go back. Or if I'm
It's usually when you're
listening to
switching.
Spanish music,
Yeah.
and I'm like in my head I'm like yeah,
You're
and then I
fully
try
Spanish at that moment.
at that moment I try to speak
no,
English, it does not.
It's happened to me actually in both Quebec and here, where
Quebec.
see how I say Quebec and not Quebec.
Yeah, and then
Like-
it's code
I say
switching. It's
Quebec,
code switching
even in
basically.
English.
Yeah.
Because it's
I hate
the
that
switch.
pronunciation.
It's like when I'd be
Wait,
in,
is that how you're supposed to pronounce Quebec in
In English is like Quebec. Yeah,
that what
because
it is?
it's phonetic.
yeah.
I
Because
just
English,
thought that, I don't know why.
Quebecer.
which is ironic because English is not a phonetic language at all, so they could really just say Quebec and it wouldn't make a
it's Quebec,
difference.
Like, I don't know.
I've never
You're
said
the
Quebec.
only person that I know. Whenever you
This
say
is
Quebec,
Quebec.
I always get confused because I'm like, well, he speaks French. Why
Quebec.
is he pronouncing it so
Because
oddly?
I taught myself English, so when I heard
I know,
English say
But
Quebec,
the thing is,
I'm like,
what I'm
oh,
saying
so that's
is
how
even
you
So
English
good.
speakers that I know still pronounce it Quebec. Like I've never heard
I have a
someone
question.
call it Quebec.
What role did like reading play in you learning the language?
English?
Like reading English, or was it mostly auditory?
Dude, the thing is, I don't even know when I started to adapt.
Yeah, it's like
'cause,
a blank.
It was always. It was
Yeah. What about you two? I'm so curious.
was
It's a blank,
always
it's mostly
around,
just like
right?
practice.
Yeah.
around people.
Yeah.
It was always
Okay.
around.
Oh,
it was
is
always
English
around
not
me.
your first language?
It's Nepali.
Not at
My
all.
third language, actually.
What
Actually,
else
my
do you
fourth.
speak?
I
Okay,
used to speak.
Let's speak.
Well, I can still speak Nepali. my first is Nepali. Second is Newari. Third was Hindi
I need
because
you-
I
I
watched
need
so
you
many
to-
Bollywood movies. And then I
So
came to
the second
Canada.
one-
I'm not
second one
finished.
is
Sorry. Newari.
What's that?
It's like a different
Ooh, I
clan in
don't know.
Nepal.
Okay,
But,
so it's
yeah.
it's just a dialect.
It's a dialect.
Okay,
different
okay,
dialect.
okay.
So my fourth language is English. So by the time I came here, I was saying things like, "No, I amn't." You know, shit like that. And at that point,
So
I still
cute.
knew how to speak
That's
all
so
my three
cute.
previous languages, right? So as I
No,
blah
I-
blah blah,
Be so close.
I lost both. I lost Hindi, Newari,
So you fully not know how to speak it anymore, or can you?
I can understand Newari and I can understand a bit of Hindi because it's very
fucked up.
similar, but I
fucked
cannot
up.
speak it.
Should just left.
See,
And
that's
English
so
is,
fucked
like,
up
at
to
the
me.
top
Like
now.
that hurts my soul.
That's
I
cool
hear
though.
that. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my god.
I
I know
noticed
that
that
about you.
happened
And
to
I
me,
think in
for
English too
French.
now.
You think in English?
Yeah,
Did you
everything.
used to
Even
think
when
in
I
Nepali?
speak, yeah, even when I'm like forming Nepali sentences, I'll be like English.
But
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
Weird, what's weird is how it's you don't remember a moment when you were like, okay, I'm losing Hindi now. Like you just woke up
No,
one day
yeah.
and,
We-
you did. And
'cause-
that's what I don't get because that's what happened with me in English. It was like it always used to be
Really?
around.
It's because like you weren't
'Cause
really aware of. the
You're a
fact that you're
child,
even learning.
too.
It's just like
I feel like
this
you're
is
aware
how-
of it though.
I just have vivid memories of moments when I didn't understand it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it was like
uh,
I had family.
Oh,
I had
and
family
you
in the
didn't
States.
understand English at
I had
all.
family
Okay,
in the
got you, got
States,
you. That's so
and then
interesting.
we go like for vacation sometimes we just go to my aunt's house and then
Yeah.
spend the 2 months there and then come
That
back.
Floridian accent is really
And
hard to understand, so I can't hold that against you.
Those moments when they'd be watching That's a Raven or like all of those shows that were popular at the time, the only way I knew when to laugh was the laugh track. Otherwise, I
That's
had
so
no
funny.
idea what's going. So I remember
Why is
vividly
that
having
adorable?
moments
And
where
you're
I
like,
would stand up watching That's
Haha,
a Raven.
funny, right, guys?
yeah, it's super
That's a
funny.
Raven specifically.
Get it?
Like That's a Raven specifically.
Why do
Like,
I have? No, no,
I
no.
used to-
I actually
I would
I
get
have
into
a
like
vivid
whole ass-
understanding.
I would get into whole ass things where I'd be like,
That's so funny.
okay, so I think when the people like I remember
Like,
vividly
thinking
the
about
moment
it.
You laugh when others
it was
are
That's So
laughing.
Raven. We were
Yeah.
sitting on the couch in the living room and they're listening, and sometimes I just laugh right after the people around me started laughing, just
That
so I
is
like just
so
so because
funny.
it was like I'm so
It's probably
lost.
self-conscious
Yeah,
too.
I got
Yeah,
so
feeling
self-
very,
Here's
very
the thing,
self-conscious.
now
Yeah,
this
and
is
you're
the
like,
complexes, right? That's the thing with the complexes. It's like fuck, like they're enjoying this, and I
Yeah.
feel like I'm so out of it because so just to feel like I belong, I'm just gonna pretend like I understand. I feel like through those experiences, your brain just starts to make the connections out of the desperate need of wanting to know what the fuck's going
I
on.
see in
know
my
what I mean?
mind the way that I pictured
Yeah.
it was you,
That's so
same
cute to
head but
me.
a small body and just random people behind you, and then you just looking like very
Other
excited to laugh with others. Oh wait, no, I think that one helped me.
that one, yeah.
No.
No, bring it down, bring it down. Oh, thank you. Okay, that's perfect. Thank you guys.
perfecto, respecto.
Oh, wow, that's so
But
funny.
yeah, it's just weird. So it'd just be like, haha, the laugh track goes off, and I'll be like, ha, or I just like, or I just scoff like, I'll be like, or giggle. So
Just
like,
in case they look
I
at
just
you and you
remember
Have you ever been
moments-
called out for it?
Nah.
Gio,
like-
explain to us why were you laughing?
Like I would just be there and they just laugh too whenever they want. So, but I don't remember a
That is so
moment
cute.
where I just kind of just figured it out. But I was always like top in my English classes in Haiti, like all of that.
Oh.
So it's like I was still advanced, but around the advanced people, I wasn't there. And
It's
then now I'm at a
so
point
hard
when
to
I'm
get
just like-
humor though. Humor
Oh,
is
yeah.
such a
'Cause there's-
fucking
'cause there's
Oh, you
slang.
can't learn. You
Oh
can't
my
learn
God.
humor.
yeah.
slang.
Like I could talk about this.
The slang,
so
right?
much,
it's like
and
it's like
slang
don't
too,
count your
yeah.
chickens before they hatch. Translate that to someone, they're not gonna really.
They're not
get
gonna
it
be able to.
because it's an English thing. It's a saying.
Something that was so interesting for me is like because I grew up and I learned Spanish from like my abuelos when I was like in Peru, and then my dad and just at home, right? So I didn't learn any slang. Like the slang that I knew was like from when my dad was a kid, and like I didn't know any swear words because I'm not gonna be like saying swear words around my grandparents. And I also like I don't know how to I'm like a funny person. I like to like make jokes and be funny, and I didn't know how to like be funny.
Oh,
I didn't
man,
know how
that-
to be
that hits me
funny.
so hard because
didn't know
whenever
how to be
I'm
funny
like
when I-
speaking Nepali, like I want to make that joke, but I don't know if it's gonna be delivered,
Really delivered correctly.
and it never is. I'm just
You
like,
always
oh,
fuck it up. It's like when I moved, I spent a lot of time visiting Peru, but I spent mostly time
slang
with like
thing
my
is a
older
problem.
like relatives and stuff. And so then I moved there after I graduated for like around a year, and I was living with like my cousin who's my age, and like we would just hang out with all of his friends and stuff. And the first like month and a half that I was there, I like the whole time I was with them, I was like. Because I could speak, I could like express myself and do what I needed to do, like get what I needed. But then we'd be like hanging out, whatever, like drinking, like partying, having fun, and I would be like trying to follow the conversation, and I was like, "Fuck!" Like I really
Humor,
thought
yeah.
I knew how to speak this
Humor
language.
is its own thing, and
Humor's
like,
its
and, like,
own
learning the
thing.
language.
But what was so interesting for me was that it took me, I think, about like 3.5 months or so, like 3 months, and then I like I was like, I got it. And then I finally knew how to like,
And then I told my first joke.
I could express that. And then I told my first joke. But no, but like for real, it's like I would always like they would always like I was always like they would laugh at me because I couldn't like express myself, and they would be like, Paloma, we can see you're like trying so hard to like say a joke and you like can't say it, or
That's
like
so
you say it and
interesting.
it's not funny, because like especially because I'm like very sarcastic, and like sarcasm is just different and or like doesn't translate in
shit like
Spanish.
sarcasm.
Oh, it's so hard.
Shit
and
like sarcasm is so hard to
it's
translate.
so hard to translate, but like and then yeah, I don't know, and then at the same time it's like I also learned a lot of my sense of humor from like my dad, and so here it's like like a Latin American sense of humor, but like articulated in English, which like offends a lot of people sometimes, and so I find that I like
how?
I pick on people.
I'm a
and stuff.
bully.
I'm a like
That's why I'm
bully.
funny.
It comes off more aggressive.
It
and
comes
negative
off more
when
aggressive, or
translated.
it's like oh you say something that's like de cariño, so it's like something that's like like it's like affectionate. It's like making fun of you affectionately, but in English you just sound like an asshole.
There's no affection.
And, like, there's no
affection.
affection, and people are like, oh my god, like I remember with my mom especially, because like she's like Irish, basically Irish Canadian, and my like I learned everything from. I loved my dad so much when I was a kid, right? So I'd like copy him with everything, and he'd like say something, and my mom would be like, oh my, like don't do that around our kids, like they're gonna be like so mean or whatever. And then when I was a teenager, I'd like say something, my sister would be doing her homework, I'm like, oh yeah, you like fucking like lazy ass, like whatever, and like we're both laughing, and our mom is like standing there, and she's like, you guys don't talk to each other that way, like not under this roof. I hope you don't speak to your friends that way. And it's like it's so funny. Humor is so wild.
I think the language you speak, like you said, it really affects the culture and also religion, because the reason the whole thing with like it coming off aggressively when people speak Arabic, and then Arabic people ending up being more aggressive, it's like
No, he's not wrong.
like I'm so
It's
not
like
wrong.
it stems from culture.
I'm trying to like
it's
put it together.
it moves with the culture, so how they speak
We
the
were
language,
talking
how they communicate,
exactly like
and it's the
he-
same with Haiti. Like Haitian people are more like comfortable with being
Every
like
single
more
time I hear
straightforward
his mom
and
like
extroverted.
speaking to him,
Spanish, yeah.
I'm
So in the
always
language-
assuming she's yelling at him. But
Yeah.
she could just be like, "Oh, sweetie, how was your day? I love the way that you look." And I'd be like, "Why is she yelling at you?"
So it's
And
the
he was
same
like,
thing. Like
"No."
Haitians are more invasive and like aggressive too. So it's like when they speak, it's so free. Like it's not restricted. It's not as bubbly as like English is, where it's like everyone's in a bubble. Hey, good day today. Good day, Joe.
Yeah,
Also,
it's
yeah,
so,
people
you
know?
are very it's
Restrict-
very
limited.
restricted, and it's like there's an expectation for how you're supposed to act, and a expectation for like how you're supposed to respond to certain questions. It's all
Yeah.
about social etiquette, and then I find in other places with different
It's
languages,
less
there's
formal.
more space for authenticity.
Yeah, it's less
and
formal.
interaction. So much
So
less formal.
like
yeah.
the way you express yourself, you can. It feels way more liberated than English. English feels like there's a lot of, like I said, it's just
it's
two
the
people
bu-
in
it's the
their
business
separate
of-
bubbles.
It's the language of
Really?
business.
Like that's
it's like-
that's what English feels like to me. Two people in their separate
Oh.
bubbles
Yes,
talking,
it's
and then
speaking in
the
their
other
heads.
languages
There's no
feel more. It's
connecting.
like there's
There's
a more
no connecting.
connection because you can
Man,
like
yeah.
it's so
It's
much more
very
open.
formal.
Do you think do you think it's though because of the language, or do you think you're connecting because both of you share that language? Like I like whenever I speak English to like my friends, like I feel the same connection I feel.
Yeah, because
but
that's,
like
that's
let's
your
say,
friend. I'm talking like someone you don't know.
But even if like I can feel
Yeah,
that
there's more
I
familiarity.
but the thing is I could
Yeah.
speak Arabic to another person that speaks Arabic, but if I have no connection to them, I don't
You know
feel
what?
that. I like if I'm speaking Arabic to like let's say like my Arab friends that you've seen me speak Arabic to, like that's the connection that I'm understanding. But I also have that connection
See,
when
I don't
speak
feel that way about Creole.
I think this is like less
Really?
to do with language and more to do with like how like Eurocentric or like North American culture conditions people to like act and interact with people. There's like a level of mistrust that exists that doesn't exist in communities
Paranoia.
that are closer to each other.
Yeah.
I also think it's a thing that has to do with like city size, population size. Bigger cities, people don't trust each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You shut down.
The
before
smaller,
you
the
talk to
more they
someone.
depend on each other.
The smaller, the more they depend on each other, and the more united the identity. Like in Cuba, like historically, they have been conditioned to basically be like everyone is Cuban, like everyone's your family. We are like one unit, and people are very like obviously friendly and open to interacting
That's
with
so
each other
cool.
because there's like a trust.
It's not like that.
It's such a communist place, right? But then it's like here, people.
Good day,
I
drunk.
mean,
keep to
well,
yourself,
English-
keep to yourself,
Do you
keep to yourself.
Britain,
is
right?
That, is
They're-
that the same way?
they've
of,
been
like,
colonizing
between all
countries.
different Spanish places though? Like,
Yeah,
do
Joe.
you like
Good day,
if
Joe.
it's like I'm like
it's like this
Cuban, you're
now?
Puerto Rican, but we're both Spanish type thing, or is
I
it
mean-
if you're Cuban, I'm Cuban, that's it, and then like
It feels
Puerto
that- it feels
Ricans,
that way for-
Colombians are
for
different.
Haiti a lot.
It depends like
I think where you are, because in Latin America it's like obviously like we're not going to be like in the context, it's like scales. So like in the context of Peru, it's like if you're both from this city, then it's going to be like, oh yeah, we're both from this city. In the context of Latin America, if you're both from the same country, then it's going to be like, oh, we're both from the same country. In the context of the world, and especially if you're displaced, so if it's like immigrant communities and stuff, it's like I grew up surrounded by like Latin American people in general. It was like the Latino community. There is like a Peruvian community in Victoria, but it's like
Oh yeah, you're not from here. I always forget. Continue. Sorry.
Yeah, and there's like the Latino community is like the big thing. Whereas like I feel like it's to an extent the same with like Islanders and stuff here. It's like if you're Caribbean, you're Caribbean, and like
That's the thing. Like sometimes I'll
Yeah,
be
like,
cashing
that's
someone
it,
out. I'll be
you
catching
know?
like I would be catching someone out at H&M, and then like I'd hear them
Shameless
speak
plug.
Creole, and then as soon as we both know we speak like we're
Creole,
Haitian and speak
yeah.
Creole, it's almost like she could invite me to a crib
Yeah.
to eat tonight, like after my shit.
I mean, it's just tribalism.
Like, it
I
just
kind of
feels-
always. I don't like
As
that.
soon as
Totally.
as soon as like
I
we
don't
both
like
know we're
that.
Haitian, especially if it's like a
it's a piece
mid
of home.
middle aged
Yeah.
like older lady, it's almost as if she becomes my auntie. And that's how we usually greet each other, like in Haiti. So it's like if someone's your mom's friend, it's automatically auntie,
Yeah.
uncle, auntie.
That's the
uncle,
same way
auntie.
that it is in Arabic, but even
So
if like
so
it's
as
just
soon as
so odd
we
whenever someone
both
speaks
like
to me in Arabic that I don't
like
know.
acknowledge that we speak Creole, it's like automatically she's my auntie. I'm her, like I'm
Yeah.
the
Especially when it's like you're outside and everything's scarce. Like there's not a lot of people
There's not a lot
Yeah.
of people
that
from
play
your
soccer.
community.
There's not a lot like you're in a community of people that play basketball, and maybe there's one guy that plays soccer just like you do. You and him are gonna be like, yo, kicking the ball, yeah. Fuck your hands,
so
bro.
cute.
Fuck your
Running down the field.
I feel like I don't have that because everyone fucking
so many
speaks Arab
Arabs here.
fucking
There's so
everywhere.
There's a lot of people.
Everywhere.
There's
And
a lot of
like
people.
there's so many
especially for-
Lebanese.
Yeah.
So many. Either that or Palestinian or
Move it
Egyptian.
up,
It's so funny because
This
like
GoPro's not
I-
getting us, even though
I
it's
don't think
probably
I-
it is really
getting
interesting
us.
that Ottawa has like
Definitely
such a
getting
dense Arab community because it has
Because
like
we all
and
fucking
then it has,
immigrated
like,
at the same
a really,
time.
really dense, I think like West African community as well. Like from what I've noticed, and like there's a pretty big like Caribbean community as well. There's almost no Latinos here. Like I swear to God, I
Oh,
moved here
yeah.
and I was so
That's
shocked.
very true.
And it's like
Go to
I'll, like,
fucking
I'll-
Florida.
That's
nigga.
true,
I went to
actually.
like I went to
Actually, no, Florida's
like
blacks.
a show with some like with like Chris and True, and then we went to this. It was like I don't know. It was like Caribbean West African dance party, dance music, whatever. Fucking
tuku.
soca night.
That night. Yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah.
night. And I went to the bathroom, and there was this girl there, and I don't know. We introduced ourselves to each other. She had a Spanish name. I was like, "Yo, where are you from?" And I was like drunk as fuck. So I was like, "Where are you from?" And she was like, "Oh, I'm like I can't even remember what she said, Argentinian or something." But then we were both like freaking out. We were like, "Oh my God, it's so nice to meet
It's funny
you." And
because
it's
I
like,
actually-
we don't have anything in common.
I've
Like, we
met
don't
so
know-
many
we
like
don't know each other.
Afro Latinos. There's a
Here?
big Afro Latin X.
Latino.
I don't know what the
Yeah.
fucking. I don't know how to pronounce
Latinx.
that. I don't know how to pronounce it, so I'm just gonna say Latinx.
Technically, all of
Latinx.
it is like Afro-Latino.
Yeah. So what I mean, like, but like Spanish speaking,
Spanish speaking,
like
Black
African
Latinos.
descent, Black Latinos,
They're-
Latina, X,
they're-
whatever
And
that.
they're all
All these
hot.
identities.
But
And
like
they're all so
but
attractive.
white, but like
White Latinos.
white Latinos, I don't.
That's,
I only know
you know,
Afro Latinos.
you know why I actually like think about this sometimes, and I'm like I think that part of the reason it's obviously different in the States because they have such a larger influx of Latin American immigrants, but white Latinos are generally positioned economically higher, and so it's easier for them to stay in Latin America and stay safe, and like feel safe a lot of the time. And I think that like but then again, it takes like money to be able to immigrate. So like most people that
Yeah.
immigrate to Canada, especially if you get to skip that entire country, it's like you at least had a little bit of money to be able to get here, right? You were at least
I know
middle
that for
class in
like
the
for
country.
Arabs, like the reason why my parents even left the States because we lived in the States before I even came here, was because like after 9/11, and then we all just like left because we were like, I don't want to go to prison.
your
Where
family
did you
is in
Where
the
did you
States?
live?
Yeah,
Okay.
That was like-
Boston,
that was like-
Massachusetts,
that
and
was
then,
like the vibes are off.
and then Michigan.
What, 2 years old or something
I don't like the
then? A
vibes
year
here.
old, 2 or something?
Move.
We bounced, from what I
Let's go to
understand, we
Ottawa,
bounced
Ontario.
back like between Lebanon and the
nice
States
country.
for a few years. And then my father left my mom, myself, and my older brother. My younger brother wasn't born at the time, in Lebanon. And then he was like, y'all stay here, man down the fort. I'm going to try and like build a life in Ottawa and then like sponsor you guys to come here. And then at the time, my dad was telling me, because I actually had a conversation with him about this like not that long ago, but we were talking about like why Ottawa, and he was like, when he had come, he came in 90 or 89 or 90, like really early.
That's a long time
Yeah,
ago.
and he came,
Jesus.
and
That's like around when my dad immigrated.
he came here, and then he was like, yeah, there was no Muslims. There were maybe
Imagine.
like a
Ahead of
group.
his time.
Yeah, there was no Muslims. There was no like, so you know how Gio loves to be annoying about this, but like you know how I only eat halal meat.
Halal meat.
Halal
Meat
So-
from home.
Oh, let's
Lemon
not, okay.
spicy?
After I finish the story, I'm gonna just shit on you for a sec. But
I
so yeah,
want my meat
there-
from my home.
Shut up.
Huh?
So I'm gonna throw something at
Yeah,
you.
baby,
So
shit on me.
like yeah, my dad would have to like go. Like there was no like Muslim or Shia
Stop it.
butchers
Never
in
mind,
Ottawa
pick it
as
up.
much as
Confiscated.
You just threw it on the ground. That's not confiscating.
that's
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 disrespect.
that's like-
That's
that's
destruction.
robbery.
That's a robbery.
I love that for you.
Sorry,
But
go on.
no, it's okay. So then yeah, so there were no like Muslim butchers that like my dad could eat from. So like he would have to go to like Toronto or
He
like
had to kill his
Wow.
own fucking.
my dad was actually
Beef.
a hunter for a really long time. He has a hunting
Fire.
license. I actually just filed his like his renewal for his firearm license. My dad
I just
hunts
killed
deer.
dinner.
Deer meat, by the way, fucking
Delicious.
fantastic.
So good.
I just
It's
killed-
Mwah, delicious.
I just killed
delicious.
dinner.
Hey, baby, I just killed dinner.
But to
Bean.
sidetrack real quick. So yesterday, Gio and I were eating pizza, and while he was like ordering the pizza for us to eat, he was complaining every single time we have to go somewhere to eat. Like he has to be mindful of like, oh, let's go to this like Asian restaurant, and I'd be like, okay, yeah, cool. Is there an option for me? Either is there a vegetarian option, or is there like a not even a halal option? We never go to anywhere with like a halal option, but I'm like, is there a vegetarian option? Because like if we're gonna go get pho, the broth, there has to be a vegetarian broth option for me. But like we'll always
So
go and he'll be like,
unfortunate.
oh no, sorry, the broth is pork. And I'm like, well, why did you not think of? Why did you not? Mind you, I asked you.
God
Or
told
like,
me I'm allergic.
but that's you guys love to shit on me and disrespect my whole religion.
Bro,
Fuck both
we're
of you.
just teasing, bro.
No, you're both disrespectful.
We're just
Fuck both
teasing,
of you.
bro.
No, absolutely not. Anyways,
I
back
think
to
I'm
my
allergic.
story.
Says who?
It's not an
God.
allergy.
I'm just
It's not
kidding.
an allergy.
It's a
I will
joke.
die if I eat pork. I'm not allowed to, and I choose to follow.
No, it's not from
I need
home.
my EpiPen for my religion.
God,
Preferably, I'd like to go to
I love
heaven.
xenophobia.
Is
Love
this
Islamophobia.
Guys,
is
It's okay.
this
Say you guys hate
is
Muslims.
this beef
Go ahead.
not from home? No, keep it. I don't.
No,
It's not
you
even
keep,
from
I,
home.
I
My
go,
mom
I go.
doesn't butcher her own meat. We have to go to a butcher and buy it. God damn it.
Yo,
Wait,
I want to have a
wait.
chicken coop. I want to have my own
Okay.
chicken coop so I can have like my
I
own
grew up
eggs
with
and shit.
chickens. I grew up with chickens.
Bro,
Oh my god, so did I.
Bro,
we had
chickens.
we had sheep.
if
we
I'm
had
gonna
cows,
drink
we
milk,
had
bro,
chicken.
like, bro, 40
It's
years
gonna come from
old.
my own chickens.
40 years old, my fucking food is self-grown.
Yo,
The
wait.
eggs are my own chicken.
Inshallah.
Because
Let's talk
I
about-
want to have a
He's
good
about my own
relationship with the
chicken.
animals. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to kill the cows. I'm just going to take their milk. But I'm going to ask them for consent first, right? I'm not going to put them in a fucking cage and have them stay there, fucking not standing, not roaming around, fucking eating nice grass. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fucking raise the cows. You know what I'm saying? Give them love, right? And the
Imagine
milk
if I
I'm
shit
gonna
on you
get.
for doing that. Imagine.
I don't care. I'm enjoying my
Imagine.
milk. What are you talking about?
Let me
nigga?
enjoy my halal ass meat then.
How is me making fun of you stopping you from enjoying it? That
Because
sounds like
it's
a you
rude.
problem.
It's disrespectful. Because it's
Call
disrespectful.
alienation.
Yes, because then I feel like shit, and then I don't want to
You're doing
eat.
something wrong.
Yesterday when he was ordering his pizza, he was like, "So I can't get pepperoni on half." I'm like, "No, you can't get
Fuck's
pepperoni
wrong
on
with
half."
you?
No, he'll like get like visibly annoyed. He'll be like,
I
"But
don't-
I want pepperoni," and
I
I'm like,
don't-
"But it doesn't." And I'm like, "Okay,
I
then
don't
get
think-
pepperoni on a
I don't think
different
I'm literally
pizza."
annoyed.
being-
I'm
You
not really.
are.
I'm not
You
really
are.
annoyed.
You
I'm
You're
just
just.
don't know.
You're just doing it for the sake of
I'm
doing
just.
it.
Yeah. I'm just
Yeah,
teasing.
he
I'm
is
literally
annoyed.
just
No, he
teasing.
is annoyed because he'll be like, "No," because
She's
then
like, you're the one
no,
annoyed.
no. It's not me because I'll be like, "No, Gio, if you get half of a pizza with
not me, it's
pepperoni,
you."
it is him. It is because the one time, not yesterday, but the first time that he ordered a pizza, and he was like, "Hey, you can have half cheese, but I'll have half pepperoni." No, stop this.
Stop. No, fucking English gonna be trash.
Get me out of it,
Fix
please.
it.
But anyways,
Not too difficult.
He was like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Why can't I get it with half pepperoni? And I told him because when you make a pizza, the pepperoni juices will seep onto my non-pepperoni side.
Pepperoni juice.
No, you can't. No, you can't. Neither
Why
can
don't you just
I.
order two small pizzas.
Which is what I said, but then he said no. And then he was like, that's a lot of money, so no. I guess I'll just have cheese pizza. We'll
know
be
what-
boring
you know what's
with our
crazy?
non-pepperoni
You know what's crazy?
halal-ass
So funny.
pizza.
You know what's crazy?
You're so
A
funny.
conversation about two different small pizzas never came up, but it's gonna
You're
be a
a
disagreement.
fucking
There's
liar.
about to be a disagreement.
Oh
about
no,
this.
you are a bold-faced liar.
but
I
listen.
literally said, I'll just have a small cheese by myself and you can have your pepperoni pizza.
I
And
was
you
too-
said no.
I was too busy being annoyed to listen. Anyways,
Clearly. I love being shit on. Anyways, whatever. Long story short.
bro, like it's never actually that serious. Like I do this to everyone. Like it's just teasing.
You don't need to
It's literally
explain
just-
it to me.
It's literally just teasing. It's
a
like
teasing thing, but then
actually
you get carried
funny
away.
enough to connect. That's just part of my culture.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
literally
yeah.
what we do. It's
No,
like
that's why it's like I think it's funny.
And you call
that's
me-
But
probably
you're not
what
actually
that's probably what you were
annoyed.
talking about,
It's
eh?
totally, yeah, it's the
when
same
like
thing.
when you
It's,
tease
like,
someone and they
basically
take
the
yeah,
same. But
it's
then
the same
like
shit.
I think the problem is that like at some point in your brain you recognize that like you've gone too far, but then you've like dug a hole so deep for yourself
You
that
just
you
keep
just don't.
going.
You just keep going. There's no other choice.
No, but the thing is, the way I describe it, the bubble thing really makes sense
Nah,
to me.
I like this whole.
Because to me, the whole English thing with the teasing, it feels more like, I think more often, not necessarily objectively, like all the time. It's two people from two different bubbles interacting with
Trying
each
to
other.
interact
So it
with
feels
each
more
other.
like a
Man, ego's crazy.
It feels more like a us and them kind of thing, like a
Uh-huh.
separation. But when you're teasing in like let's say Haiti or Peru or something, it's like it's two people in one bubble, just
And then
just
you're like,
teasing.
"Ah!"
and there's more of a unity in it.
And because they can dish it back
you.
too, they know like
Yeah, and niggas clap back too.
Yeah.
It's never
Other way.
serious.
other
No.
way, other way.
Worse. Thank you. It's okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Why
Oh, I
do you
liked
not have
that.
shoes on?
Why
Shoes
have
are very uncomfortable.
Shoes are
Why do you have
trash.
shoes
So
on?
awful.
I'm
I was
sitting.
thinking about
Can
that
I
today.
just say that?
Oh,
Can
they
I
don't
just
even
say
work,
that
they all
on
get
record?
wet.
Shoes are fucking terrible.
I
I want to
Overrated.
get those I want to get those waterproof shoes that there's so many.
Gio
ads
will
on
literally
the internet
take off
for.
his shoes and socks like in like Rito. Like we'll be sitting and he'll just.
I
be-
take off. I.
Why
didn't-
do you people do
I
this?
had like.
You
I
have
had,
so
like,
many nerves
slippers.
on the bottom of your feet.
It's
And
not
for-
even that. It
if
just
you're
feels
wearing-
nice. I don't even care
Exactly.
about the fucking science.
Nerves.
Like it just feels nice. Why do you?
You
That
live in
to
a
me
body.
just
There's
looks
a
I don't
reason
know.
why it
dirty.
feels
Why do
nice.
you wear
I
heavy
had-
sweaters? It feels nice. Why do I not wear shoes? It
This
feels
is not
nice.
even a heavy sweater. This is a very soft sweater. and it's very light.
Yeah, it's just a heavy.
Soft can be
nice.
heavy.
You know.
Nice
You're
can be
heavy.
light.
That's so funny.
Have you ever had a high experience praying? Like, do you ever feel like a connection? Like, do you ever actually like? Because what happened to me when I was young, praying just felt like some shit I just did, where it was like,
Mechanical.
yeah, it just felt like, hey, my parents told me I should do this, so I'm just gonna do this. This is what we do. Like, I used to pray morning and night. So night, it's like when I'm sleeping next to my mom. Let's say, like, she's like, "Did you pray?" I'm like, "Oh shit, I forgot." So like, do and then pray, and then
Do you do the
it
whole
feels
side
like
of the bed with the hands folded?
no. To
No?
us, it, like prayer, Christianity is more mainstream, so it's like it
Is that
can
Catholicism?
that gives more leeway for less formal forms of
I
it.
have some questions
So
for you.
a lot of Christian people will just like they can't pray without the rosary,
rosaries.
without the rosaries,
We
or
have a
they can't
version of
pray to pray. They need to
Mm.
like kneel and all that. And then some people are just like normal
Completely
Christians.
forgot that we actually also have that, and like between each prayer we have to do a certain amount. Like so like if I can take that real quick. So it'll be like this would be like your starting point, and
Do you
let's
feel
say
it?
Do I-
Do you feel the spirit in it? I put a lot. I'm just kidding. Keep going.
oh, like in
Keep
the
going. I was just
doing the
kidding.
whole rosary thing, or like in praying.
No. I'm talking like when you touched it. Did you feel any?
No, it
Zap?
felt like
I feel
beat-
zaps when I
nope,
like touch
just
sacred things.
beads.
Okay, I'm not holy enough. Fuck. I need to
When I
keep.
touch this,
I need to keep
I
trying.
go like.
I need to keep. I need
No?
to keep trying.
When I feel my sword, it's nice and
Yeah. What were you
pointy.
saying? Sorry, I cut you off.
I don't even remember this
When
one.
I feel my
When
sword,
you
it's
when you
nice and
when you
pointy.
use this when you use the rosary to pray.
Is that what you said?
Oh yes, every there's like a let's say there'll be
Ready
like
to
a
kill.
black.
Shut up.
So there's
Okay.
like a certain amount of like beads that you have to go through to like and say a specific word, and then like you translate. I mean, you transition between that word, and then there's like a certain amount of beads that you have to say like another word. Yeah, but that's basically what it is.
Do you go over the guru bead? Do you have the big bead at the
So that's
guru?
actually like it's the bead to the right is your starting point, and the bead to your left when you like
'Cause-
when you do the whole 360 of it.
Because when Buddhists come here, when you do the full thing, you go around. You never go over the guru bead.
You don't step over it. You
Oh, I was like, what
walk
the?
around.
You
I'm
go
so
around
fine,
and you
I'm
don't go
great.
through it with your index because that's the finger of accusation. So there's a lot of ego involved in the index because it's always like me, you, blah blah blah. So it's like you need to do it with your middle
That's so
finger.
interesting because you're not supposed to do it with your left hand. You're not supposed to do anything with your left hand in culturally. And I think it's rooted in Islam, but I'm not too sure. Actually, I think it is.
It's-
I
Yes,
could be
that's
wrong.
why sometimes they
There's a little bit of
fucking
that.
force
like,
kids.
so
to
So my
fucking
mom,
be right-handed.
my mom is left-handed naturally, but her parents forced her, so now she's
It's
like
so
ambidextrous.
fucked.
There's actually like
So
some
fucked,
cultural.
I mean, it's not fucked. Now she's
there's some
ambidextrous. Oh, no,
actual,
they
like-
didn't beat her. They would just be like,
Oh, 'cause I've
There's
seen-
some there's some
Oh.
practical reasoning behind that. Okay, just wanna.
but
What's the practical
it's
reason?
not practical. It's just
It is well in
well-
Hindi in my culture it is because, like if you're eating in a group of people, there's one hand for like receiving and one hand for that touches your mouth. So it's like it's just for cleanliness basically.
Oh, ours is because the left hand or the left something being on the left, it representative of like devil movements. So like
Whoa.
yeah,
That's
so like
intense.
so your right hand,
That's
you
the same in-
receive.
that's
So
why
like when you go to
people will be,
heaven,
like,
you receive
right-handed.
like your
Left-handed
you receive
people.
not the the key to the gate, but I'm just gonna call it the key to the gate. You receive like your basically like your invitation to
ticket.
heaven in your right hand, and then your key to hell in the left. So
kinda
you
tight.
speak. I mean, you do everything with your right hand because like it's the hand
I'll
of
take
like
both.
purity. And now my mom like is just ambidextrous, but she's
She's naturally left-handed.
naturally
Yeah.
left-handed, but
That's the
now
same thing
she
happens in a
almost
lot of
forced herself to
Christian
become naturally
or, like,
right-handed because now
heavily
she'll
Christian
eat.
That's so
households.
weird how
It's
we
not.
have a fucking hand that can function better than the other. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I just practice.
Yeah, if you were to start doing something that you are naturally good at with your right hand, with your left hand, you would then develop that same
Yeah,
ability to do it just as well. If not, you could probably train it to be better.
it's just your code.
So yeah, have you ever gotten like high from doing like?
I don't know what
like-
you mean by
like
high.
you feel God's presence. Have you ever
Totally.
felt God's presence
What?
from
Yeah.
your spiritual practice? Like you actually felt like
Oh,
the
you're
nigga
asking
was
Alaa
right there.
specifically.
Oh no, sorry, I didn't mean. I sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Do
no.
you?
Yeah, I not all the
I
time,
do-
but I have.
Sorry, I'm like in my head.
I have. Yeah. I don't think I feel it all the time, but I do.
What's the most spiritual experience you've ever had in your life so far?
Now,
Most
answer.
Now.
spiritual.
Right now.
Define spiritual.
You define it for yourself and tell
But
us.
I d-
Whatever you
but
think, whatever
I
you think
don't-
it means. Go ahead.
But I'm asking you just to give me like
What a weird question.
Yeah,
Why
because
would
I don't
you
know how to.
ask
I don't know.
that?
I don't know what you mean by that though. Like, what do you mean by like what's the most spiritual?
You know what I mean?
You guys have
Unity.
Everything is sacred.
with like God.
Everything.
everything is
I think
Everythingness.
every single
You
day.
need to re-
That's what, yeah, that's what
Because
I'm
like
saying. It's
because
like,
in that sense because I believe that God is everywhere. He is like you know the
yeah. I know.
He's
Every-
everything. So I'm always
Bro, every
feeling
moment
I
is
am.
lit. When's the moment where you've been the
You felt
most
the litest.
reminded of your litness the most? You know what I mean?
Again, like in times of need, I feel like that's when I feel like the most lit.
That's what I'm saying.
Like in times where like I won't go obviously
In
too
times
deep into
of
it, but
need
there
is
was
what
like
Is it
one.
because
Most
there's a
lit.
sense of surrender in there, where I mean you're basically like
Totally.
you need help, so it's like I'm just dropping this whole situation in your hands.
we did
I'm no longer. I'm giving
Not
up
necessarily
control.
that.
It's not surrender in a negative way. Surrender is the whole point of
I
it.
understand, but I'm saying I wouldn't describe it as that.
It's the same ideas like that we were talking about the first time I was on the podcast, where we were saying it's like that we should blah 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 like remind ourselves that like or like talk to God even when we're not in moments of crisis, but it's like a human instinct to talk to God in moments of crisis because like you can no longer rely on
It's part of when
material
shit's
things.
going wrong.
Yeah, it's like you can't
The letting
you
go.
can't rely on like people around you. You can't rely on money. You can't rely on material things. Like whatever's going on is a spiritual issue,
Yeah.
or it's impacting you in a very like profound emotional way.
Mm-hmm.
And so the only like
Just
remedy
God.
to that is to talk to God in that moment. Whereas like at other times when you're recognizing God
Yo,
is
cuz.
happening, things aren't necessarily like
I'm
in
down
crisis
bad,
mode, you
cuz.
know?
You know
Or
what
like
I'm saying?
when things are going really well, I like to
I'm
just
down
give
bad,
thanks.
cuz.
Totally.
Because then I'm like,
all the
I
time.
can recognize, I'm like, oh shit, like I'm happy, everyone's cool,
Yeah.
like I'm doing well. Yup, thanks,
Shit
big,
is beautiful.
big dog upstairs.
Things are so beautiful.
Aside from synthetic methods,
When was the time that you felt? The thing is,
Yeah.
I don't, so
I'm trying to not think of psychedelic experiences. Is that you're just?
I'm not talking about
like,
psychedelic experiences. I'm saying
psychedelic
like,
experiences like this is God.
I'm-
This is actually God, and you just feel like this.
but my thing is like, I don't know. So I've known you for a really long time, but I have been the most confused about like your.
Oh, I've been confused too, honey. Don't worry.
Call me
Honey.
honey. Jesus Christ.
I've been.
was so interesting.
I know. What an odd thing.
I've jumped so many. Oh man.
I meant like yeah. But the thing is like when I first met you.
I was nothing. I was atheist.
Yes, that's where I was going.
Yeah,
I was like,
I actually
I
do
knew that you
remember
didn't
that as
believe
well.
in
What a crazy
that.
time.
I was like philosophy.
My mom asked me about that the other day. She's like, so how is
Destroy,
Gio doing
reduce.
with God? And I was like, I couldn't
I
tell
am
you.
literally playing ping pong with God. Like we're playing beer pong every day. Like we're just. He wins most of the time though.
But my
Like,
thing
I'm
is I
just
don't
drunk all
like
the
when you say things like when you talk about God, I don't get what you mean ever in life.
What?
I don't
Well-
ever understand because then then again
It's not formal. It's not.
like
It's
God.
not.
If you look at it like philosophically, God is everything, right? Because God created everything. So we're all point sources of consciousness, and God is seeping out through us, through this book because someone wrote it, through this because someone made it, through the chair because someone designed it.
I think it's more.
Everything's sacred. Everything's
I think it's
holy.
more about the way I express it. Like I could express it in a very formal manner, but
I know
like
that
to
you
me
don't-
it's just like how I can't even say that because
because I know that you don't like
So
subscribe to like any religion necessarily. Like I get that that's like
whatever gets me high.
But you.
I understand that part, but when I like
You're still a religious person because religion.
I mean like
Say more
Abrahamically, no.
Say more
but
It's just like a
religions
belief.
are like. But
Belief system,
like
right?
I think it's
He's spiritual.
it's absurd. But if you're actually a profoundly spiritual person, you are inherently
You're definitely
religious.
gonna get
You are religious.
because religion is just a tool to for spirituality.
And also,
It's
like
just-
we
it's
think
just,
about
hey,
religion as like this big ass
We've
like
had different
thing,
systems
and
of how to
it's
get
not
to God,
necessarily-
and whatever system works best for you and gets you there the nicest you choose, or whatever you're born into. Like, bro, there's a lot of deep moments that you can have as a Christian. There's a lot of very deep spiritual and like high moments you could have with whatever religion. Like that's why there's accomplished beings in every single one, and then everyone else just disagrees on how to get high.
It's like
It's literally just disagreements on how to get high.
if you're a person of faith, you're a religious person. Period.
No, I
It
don't
doesn't
agree
matter.
with that though, because like when you think
Those
of
are just
religion,
technical. Those are
Those-
just
those are like-
intellectual.
yeah,
It's
those
just
are-
semantics.
those are like
'Cause
semantics.
it-
They
when
are
it comes down to
semantics,
it,
yeah.
Intellectuality.
it's a
So many
cult
people talking.
of a certain
'Cause
belief,
We're expressing the same shit.
right?
Yeah,
You
I-
have a certain belief, and you have faith in, and you just practice it.
But the thing is,
Feel
it's
very
like
close to you.
for me, it's like
We all believe.
I-
literally.
I like choose to identify like people ask me like sometimes if I'm religious or not because I think that I like present generally.
I think it's
as,
a
like,
stupid
very
question to
spiritual.
ask someone.
But I always say like, yeah, I'm profoundly religious, and I know that the first thing that they think of is that like I am like super Catholic or something like that, and like that's not the case.
The Catholics won.
'Cause
They made it. They're the ones who made it.
They're
They
the ones who
invaded the
made it.
fastest.
But like I think that
Fucking
like
virus, I swear to God.
I'm like profoundly religious just because like I practice religion in like various forms, and like that's I practice faith
Yeah.
in various forms, and that's
Listen.
like period doesn't mean I subscribe to like a thing, but it is semantics.
It's
I
the,
don't
yeah,
know.
it's the same shit. Like calling someone
Yeah.
spiritual just means they're religious, and then they just
I
don't
don't.
want to
I
call
think that there's
themselves.
a
Are you an
difference. I think that there's a
athlete?
difference because I think that with religion, kind of like implies like a certain amount of like dedication and practice that like everyone is inherently spiritual,
Religion's
but
more
not
bhakti
everyone is
yoga.
religious, and that's an
Mhm.
important differentiation to me.
I think religion has a lot more to do with devotion than anything else.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Is like
Yeah.
like everyone is a spiritual person, and then like the level of which you dedicate
I
yourself
mean,
to that and
what's it called?
implement practice in your life is like
Religious,
kind of
like the
defines
word.
how you religious you
Devotion?
are.
No.
Or I guess, like-
atheism is a fucking religion.
But atheism,
Your God is no God.
atheism is like atheism's so interesting, man. Oh, I could talk about like Richard Dawkins and or what that is his name, right?
Is he dead?
No, he's like the guy that is like
Fuck, I
God
was
is
sure
dead,
he's dead.
so it doesn't matter anyways. Blah blah blah. He put like ads on like buses
just-
in England. He wrote the God
We killed God.
whatever. Oh, there's like,
Stop.
he
God
wrote a
killed
book about
God.
it.
Now he's
But
still
it's just
alive.
it's wild because he's
Can
like
revive
he was
it.
like a microbiologist or something, and he like ended up writing it's like the God fallacy, the God delusion is the name of the book, and
I
he
think-
becomes like he's like this weird like person. He's never studied religion in his life. He just like decided that like
God is
science disproves that God is alive, so like God is dead.
It sounds very religious.
It's so
Our
it sounds-
limited,
That's
our
it's
limited
incredibly
metric
religious.
system
It's incredibly
says it
religious,
doesn't
yeah.
exist.
Yeah.
Okay, we can take turns with it. Okay, so you said okay. Times and needs. I'd say my most high moments outside of psychs have been actually both times from the past like 2 weeks when we recorded, when I'd say I'd smoked and then like I ended up doing nothing for the rest of the day and I'd feel like shit the day after for the whole day. When I'd meditate after those moments, I'd feel a significant, I don't know how to describe it. It's
Right,
almost
it's like
as
a
if like
shift.
describing like what does anger feel like? I don't know, I'm just angry. So
Tension.
it's like I felt an actual, like if I could describe it, I'd say I was there and then after I was there. And it actually felt like I was higher than I was before.
I think we'll try to maybe explain, because like at that point before your meditation, your brain was like, okay, I just smoked the day before, and that's my baseline, right? That like highness,
The not now.
the not nowness, the nowness. Like I'm so in the now right now, and then when I'm come down, there's such a big discrepancy in awareness.
Crash.
It's a crash, caffeine crash, basically. So after you meditate, it's like you've put your awareness on something, you've practiced it. So by the time you're out, your consciousness has shifted way higher. And I think that discrepancy is where you felt the high. It's like, whoa, you feel like it's here, and now it's not.
I really think like how high you are just determined, just based on how like aware you are.
Yeah.
of the
It's just
current
different
moment.
forms of
Just
awareness.
consciousness.
Like I think it's really how in tune you are with what the fuck is going on.
I feel like something that I spoke about in the class that I was in right before this, and why I was so into the
class is it?
conversation is
What was it? What did you
it's
say?
contemporary anthropology, contemporary theories in anthropology, and the class today was about like time and history and how like time, we perceive time differently, and how like industrialization and modernization have like impacted our perceptions of time. The clock isn't like a real thing; we just invented it, kind of thing. Like all of that stuff, and how like history is recorded by people that are like in power, and therefore like define our
Reduced.
perceptions of like how time passes, and like what is important in the context of time.
It's definitely not real, man. I'm telling you, man. It's not real, man.
Sorry, continue. I apologize on behalf
For him,
of
on behalf of him, yeah. What we were talking about towards the end is we, like, one of my classmates showed a video of like Terrence McKenna, who was talking about
Wow.
I love my classes. That's why I was so into it. My classes are so sick. He was
No idea what
basically talking. Terrence McKenna is like this dude.
Just listen, bro.
I forget like what he does, but or what he did.
Psychonaut.
Yeah,
Lots of
psychonaut guy.
psychedelics.
Just did
Yeah,
drugs,
he's
bro.
a
He's a
so
hippie.
what am I doing? He's like an ethnobotanist.
Mhm.
Is what he was.
hippie.
Like along with probably
And he
like
picked up some mushrooms. I
other
was like, oh shit.
um
I was like, whoa.
probably like Wade Davis kind of world kind of person.
Terrence
Terrence McKenna was talking about like how complexity plus
Sorry.
complexity and connection are essentially the same thing, and that those
What?
equal consciousness.
How so?
But I was having a lot of trouble with this idea, and so I was talking it over with my classmate who was like, "I'm a Terrence McKenna, like I fucking stand Terrence McKenna, whatever." And I was like, "Dude, like implying that complexity is connection." And saying that,
I have no
and
idea what
also
that
he was
means.
saying he was talking about it
I have
in
no
like this.
idea what
He
that
was looking at
means.
like time. Time is moving faster, and time is moving faster because the world is becoming more complex because of globalization. Things are becoming more connected. So this complexity is inherently connected to. Complexity and connection are like essentially the same thing in this context, and at the same time, time is moving faster. And I kind of had a hard time like accepting this, I guess, because I think that saying that things are more complex because time is moving faster is like an absurd thing to say, because that kind of implies that like complexity is correlated with like basically industrialization or modernization. And like for me, it's like matter was never created or destroyed. Like all this matter exists at the same time, and so these like energy exchanges have been occurring at the same complexity. They just look different now than they did before.
Also, the frequency of information, and that's like passing through our nervous system. It's like whoa, and like it
But-
kind of shifts your perception of time. I think.
Do you mean that like do you agree that it is more complex now than it has been in the past? Because I don't agree with that.
I don't know if
think
it's
that
more
just
complex,
energy.
but the perception of it is definitely more.
I think that like the part for me that did click about that whole thing was that like that, and then he brought up the idea of consciousness, right? He says like connection and complexity are like the next step, or like another part of this equation is consciousness. And I was like trying to like figure it out. And then I guess like for me, my interpretation of it was that like consciousness itself is the realization that complexity and connection exist. So
It sounds way too intellectual. I
Sorry,
can't,
like-
I can't get it.
but like consciousness itself, it's
It sounds way too academic.
It's-
Way to stop her while she's like on
I'm
a
just like
fucking roll.
I'm just trying to
Bro,
break
you
it
lost
down.
me 5 minutes.
Try,
That's
try.
fine.
Keep going.
So
Try to follow.
consciousness, or
Don't
like
even try.
I was like, what does conscious? Don't say that. Consciousness is like
I'm trying. Go ahead.
Now you made her self-conscious. Stop this.
That's what we do over here.
teasing me.
Conscious of self.
Consciousness. For me, I'm like, what is like consciousness? What are we conscious about? Like, what is that like higher feeling? What is that higher level of being? And essentially, it like can be defined by. It's not just like consciousness is like some like weird like floating thing or whatever. It's like the fact that you're conscious that the world is like complex, and the fact that you're conscious of connection and the connection that exists in the world. Those are the two things that are your like that when you like are conscious about those things, it provides you like overarching consciousness for your existence and whatever and all that kind of stuff, you know? Yeah. Oh, of course. Oh, it's so obvious what a gift it is. Shut up. Leave me alone.
Want me to translate?
I've understood. I just like I don't have anything to add because it's not something I know.
But
Niggas literally
I was-
just said the
Say it
more
again.
you are aware of shit, you're aware of how shit could go, so
But-
you understand how complicated everything is, and now every moment
I'm
has
just trying
effects on every other moment. So you're like, whoa! So you feel super high.
But I'm trying to
That's
frame
why
it.
people get very
Can I ask
high,
you a
get
question?
anxious.
I'm trying to frame it in like the context of like
Okay, I wanna
time
ask you
and
a
stuff. So,
There's
right,
just-
I'll be done in like 1 second.
No. I want you to continue. It has nothing to do with that.
In the context of
Say
like
no.
time, and I think it also in the context of like I don't like Eurocentricity and culture and
I don't
all
know, that's
these
just
things
felt-
and all of these things.
That just felt like,
like-
just a whoa.
Yeah, why are you coming around? Talk to me straight.
You know?
Or not you, but
because
like
I wanted to.
The
I
higher
wanted
you
to-
are, the more anxious you are because you understand how complicated things are and how intricate this world and system is.
I think she's saying a little bit
but
more
what I'm
than
saying
that.
is like you can be like aware of how complicated and connected they are, but once you really internalize those things, that's what consciousness is, because like consciousness is
When
like,
you
the
feel it
piece
instead
within
of-
you. And I know
yeah.
you already know this stuff, but I'm just trying to like explain
As
it
a
because
non-
Sorry,
It's
that
easy to
just,
break
that
it
just
down.
it's not
This
even
is a
not
lot
mom, bro.
for
That
me to
just
understand.
felt
yeah,
like
exactly. It's like
that just felt
and
like
it goes like,
For
oh,
those
like,
who are not
totally,
hippies,
100%.
we don't know this stuff. Sorry.
um,
It's probably common sense
Jesus
to you, but I have no
Christ.
fucking idea what the hell she just said.
no, you definitely know what she's talking about.
No, but I don't. Like I just learned something. I have no idea what the hell she was
yeah,
talking about.
new,
you
new
learned
information.
You learned it because you already know it.
And
No, I learned it because I'm not
We
a
know.
fucking hippie.
We know.
us know it.
Exactly.
Us, no, not them.
No,
Okay.
not this.
I guess my issue with the video, because I was talking about, is that like I agreed with some parts of the video that he was talking about, but not others, was that like he connects this consciousness and this connection to the speed, because we're moving at a faster rate, and because like
No,
the
we're
world
not.
is more globalized.
Well-
That's what I'm saying. It's like, but he was saying that like things are like history's moving faster, time is
Because
moving
everything,
faster.
because probably
I
because
agree with
everything
that.
around it moves faster. Like
It's
the
like it's
day-to-day.
morphic resonance. Basically, it's like there's
Explain
never
that.
once exist. Okay, so I've said this before, but 1960, no one ever ran a 4-minute mile, and then the next year, one guy does it, first guy to ever do it in history, and then the next year, everybody's doing it. So that
All it takes is one.
that all it takes
All
is
it takes is
one,
one.
and then cascade.
But I think my
I think
issue
that
with it
relates
is
to
that
the
he was
first
kind of like talking about it like
Well,
time is literally moving faster, and it's like I understand that like I think that our experiences of time might be moving faster, but exchanges of energy aren't happening any faster, and I think that saying that time
I
moved
think it is.
slower in the past.
I
You
th-
think
I
it
think
is?
so.
I think time just everything already happened. Everything
In
is,
terms
Time
of
moves
energy,
slower in the
in
past.
terms of energy exchange, it's definitely faster now.
everything already
With the
happened.
internet, I mean, like, you can Google anything you want, whereas before you had to go to the library, search out a book, blah, blah,
I'm
blah,
talking
you
about
know?
like in all of history, like in time immemorial. Like
I feel like he's
before-
talking about how fast-paced things are now makes it feel like time moves faster.
Yeah,
If
the
that- is that-
perception
Of
of
course,
time.
yeah,
Yeah.
perception of time, but also he was saying not just that, but just like how that like advances our capacity to connect with others, and also like we connect with others in different ways now. But I wouldn't say that we connect with others more quickly. Like, I think that
Really?
The capacity to.
No, we don't connect with people more quickly.
I feel
Yeah,
like I
That
do.
was just
It's just like
We have the
what I-
capacity to,
I
but
know
we
I'm
don't
saying is that,
I know
necessarily.
your water's
emotional
blue. You know
con-
my
like,
water's
complexity's
purple.
always
That's all we need to
existed.
know.
This
Like there's no diving
globalization
in.
hasn't
It's
made
like
the
you
world
just- you know,
more
people.
complex.
Maybe
It makes
for
it makes
you
it
people,
more complex
but
for us to
me,
understand.
I'm a little bit different.
Because we try to compartmentalize everything, but in reality, like the complexity has always been there. It just
I
for
don't
us, it looks more
I don't think we
difficult to
connect.
piece.
I don't think we
I
connect
think
as fast.
I think it is definitely more complex.
I'm just. It's harder for us
I
to
think it's
understand, but it's still ultimately the tension and release. It's still submission and
It's
domination.
all, it's,
that's
bro.
always
It's the
existed, is
same
what I'm
shit.
trying to
It's
say.
the same shit, and our
that hasn't-
experience of that same shit
Like,
changes
and it's
over
just like
time.
the human experience of it is that it is
Like,
faster
it's
or it's
literally
more
like-
complex,
it's
and that it
literally all it
provides
is.
more space for connection, but it doesn't, and that's
Shit
what
is
I.
being things are being innovated at a much faster rate than way before.
Yeah,
but
but it's
innovation
still the
isn't talking
same
about
thing.
energy
It's still
exchanges.
God.
It's
Like,
still
it's still
God.
just
It's still God.
atoms being
That's what I'm
moved
saying.
around,
It's
and
like
we're
that's
just
what I disagreed
experiencing
with what he
atoms
was
in
saying.
different ways.
But like,
Okay, but
in a human,
it's like
from a human
to me,
perspective,
to
it
me,
moves
it's
faster.
like to me, it's like okay, you've been cutting an apple with a spoon the whole time, and then you find his knife. Your ability to cut that knife is way easier. You don't need as much energy to cut that knife because the knife is sharp. The form of that knife allows you
So
to cut it as
efficiency.
efficiency.
We're talking about efficiency and
And
efficiency
effectiveness.
that's like directly a part of like industrialization and modernization is like efficiency, but it doesn't mean that energy was being exchanged
No, but it
faster.
it does change the transfer of energy.
It
because-
changes the transfer of energy, but it doesn't make it like inherently faster or more complex.
I
You know
think
what I'm saying?
It does.
I can't be part of
God,
conversations.
God,
Listen,
God.
You're trying to reduce, bro. Like, okay, you have. Okay, let's go to an extreme. You're trying to kill somebody,
God.
right? You're
Go
trying
on,
to kill
go on.
somebody.
Yeah.
Are you gonna use a sword
Or my teeth.
or your teeth?
What the fuck are we talking
Which is
about?
gonna
Okay,
take
wait,
you
hold
more
on,
time.
Time out.
So
What are
time
we talking
passes-
about at this point? Because
time
now you
passes
guys have
faster when you
completely
can kill
lost
someone
me.
with a
Like I've been
sword.
lost for 20 minutes.
Well, yeah. Like it's more efficient. It's more effective. You don't have to use as much energy to kill someone with a sword than you.
I
have
think
to do
we
with
agree
it.
with each other, and we're just talking about like slightly different
Maybe.
things.
Because like
yeah, yeah,
I don't know. Like
Disagree on how we agree.
yeah.
because the
Like, bro.
it's true, but I don't get it.
God.
Because form transforms energy.
Very odd way of.
Form transforms energy. Form transforms energy, but
The input is still the same. you
no,
think?
energy
I don't
stays
know.
the same. Energy, like matter, stays the same. Matter is not broken
transforms
down.
energy?
It looks different to us. It
Yes.
is, but it's not. It looks different to us, but it's
Don't look.
not.
I don't know what the fuck
like,
we're talking
it's
about.
not
I have
like
no idea what the hell's happening.
It does, but
It's
it
not
doesn't necessarily
inherently different. It still is like intrinsically the same.
The explicit outcome of it is different,
Never been more
but the
lost.
input may be the
Bro.
same.
Just
Okay,
insignificant in the
This
conversation.
will continue episode 50.
Like I'm actually trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
You can't figure out what.
Shh,
what
I'm not
It's
asking
just
you, I'm not
God.
asking you.
Yeah, it's just God. That's what I'm saying.
you're
It's
trying
But
to figure out
I'm
God.
saying because we live in the world of
Do you want my
form,
This is why wars exist.
the way like the input of energy that you put into something can be determined by the form of that thing. And because of that, you
This
can
is
either
starting
like
way too intellectual. It's just
You know what I mean?
really
Like-
trying-
yeah, I do know what you mean. I'm like following, but it's I'm just I think that
the utilization of energy changes.
Just wanna-
How you use it, how much you use it changes.
but that's always different for every single person that walks through the world. Like
Well, I'm
every-
thinking in terms of like
efficiency.
very mechanical.
You're talking
very
and
mechanical
this-
things.
I'm not talking about very mechanical things, and that's the difference, and that's the difficulty. And I think that he was also talking about very mechanical things, and that's the trouble that I had with it because I don't think that like the world inherently functions on an entirely mechanical level. It also
doesn't.
functions on an emotional level,
does.
and in that sense, things aren't getting
No, it's not
faster.
about-
Things are still the same.
Things have
That's
always
what
been
I'm-
the same. They're always
things
gonna
have-
be the
and that's
same,
what
and
I'm
your
talking about.
experience of the
Yeah.
thing that's the same will just change.
And
over
that's my
time.
difficulty with like what he was saying, but that I still agreed with the
And
whole
it
like
manifests
complexity
itself
and connection equals
physically.
consciousness. Just that it's not connected necessarily to the speed of things. It's connected.
Nah, it's like
Gio just saw one of his friends.
I don't know.
I get what you're saying. I do
I
understand.
don't
You just agree with Terrence McKenna.
It's not that it's like it's the energy thing that I'm hung up on.
Yeah.
Form transforms energy, so it's like automatically when you
Well, if you
I
guys
do
are gonna
get
have
it.
this
You're also like a
conversation,
more
step
in your
out.
body kind of person, and so that's the way that you
That's good.
experience the world.
see ya.
You're like a more in your body kind of.
I think,
individual
think
than
what
I
we're-
am.
What we're saying here with different words is that the world has like it's just the world is the way it is, And then the way we experience the world as it is changes over time, and it manifests itself both inside and outside, like in different ways depending on how it's being interpreted this current moment. Right now, everything is super intellectual and everything is very physical. Technology is improving, and this is how we're experiencing the world in this way. And cameras and getting better in laptops
Wow, you're
and
so smart, Gio.
connections.
Thank you.
Amen.
And over time, it changes and it becomes more of an inside thing. Isn't that what we were talking about?
Nope.
And then the guy was
I
saying
don't
it in
think
a, in
I
a
don't
way
know.
that was mechanical. I don't know what.
I think you
mechanical
just
is.
reduced it to its very bare bones, and
To
you're,
its essence.
and you're going to be right.
As I'm supposed to, as I was put on this earth.
Actually,
Thank you for
you
listening.
get insecure about
Is
things.
this 49 or 50?
I have no clue.
I think he does. Is
Interesting.
this 49 or 40?
I
What?
don't know why I've been thinking about that all podcast.
What did you want to ask me?
Oh,
Literally, just get insecure about
what are you?
things.
What are you? What are you
you
insecure
insecure
about? What are you insecure about?
Do you get anxious for no reason?
Okay, that's not what I was asking.
I got
Sometimes.
anxious last
Not-
night.
not
I
as
couldn't
often,
sleep. I
but
couldn't
yeah.
sleep. Oh my god.
Not as often now.
So weird.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
You are so patronizing.
No.
Patronizing.
Patronizing.
Yeah.
Bro, I'm
Patronizing.
genuinely confused. It's not patronizing. This is just how you're interpreting it.
Patronizing.
But like, it's
Okay.
so weird to me.
That
like,
you get
how it
anxious
just comes
or
for no reason.
Oh,
the
I've
anxiety.
that's what you were
I have
asking.
never
Yeah,
had an
okay.
experience.
I thought
I
that's
have
what you
never-
Thank you for listening.
I have never had any.
It's over.
Sorry, you see that? You see how insecure he is?
No, I was just asking. I was asking.
Um,
I don't know why, but I was, because I know what you get like insecure or anxious about. I think I understand what you get, but
Really?
I just don't see him
Ask
as
me
like
after him.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
But I feel like I know what I get insecure. I think everyone knows what I get like anxious and insecure about. But like, I don't see you as someone who gets like insecure or like self
Or like
conscious.
fear. That you're not a
Not
person
fear.
that
you know when I
Like,
realized
even,
he
like,
does?
I just don't.
True.
Maybe I just don't see it.
And
Or you don't
since,
see it.
since
Yeah, that's what I'm
Chiru,
saying, I don't-
I've noticed it in very
You
subtle
see it,
ways.
you see
I
it.
think Aakrist's outside control of what he displays is
very
very
good.
very under control.
Yeah, very under control.
So
That's
inside,
what I'm saying. Like I feel like
inside,
you.
like,
I
he
don't.
knows how
I
to,
can't.
like,
I wouldn't even
maintain.
know where to begin. What you think. Like
because
what
I sense
causes,
it coming
like,
off him.
Like.
I feel it too. I can
insecurity.
feel it. Yeah.
I definitely like.
I can't.
I am pretty insecure.
Really?
And I do
about
get
what?
anxiety. I just
about
don't.
what?
Fucking complexity.
Shit's
complex.
Time out. Because I don't.
wide variety
what the
of
fuck does that
things.
mean? Like I don't know what that means. So like explain it to me.
The daily obstacles and challenges of life.
Which is
Things,
why I'm asking, don't
novelty,
say words like
new
I
things
understand.
are complex to me that I have not experienced, that I have not had the time
Yeah,
or
yeah.
the
Do
bravery
you get
to
like?
confront.
Do you have
Oh,
like
this-
quote unquote superficial insecurities?
Wait.
Not as much superficial anymore.
Really?
Well, I mean, at the root of it, all things are like
Yeah.
all
I
things
think-
that you get insecure about
Are
is matter,
superficial, yeah.
which is superficial.
I think that it's interesting that you say that new things make you anxious because I think some people are more like we all talk about it's like, oh, it's just fear, like whatever in the end. But I do think that it's like interesting that each person like I'm pretty comfortable with like new things. They don't really stress me out too
Depends
much. I
on
just
me, it
adjust.
depends.
Depends on what it is.
Depends
Yeah.
on what category that
yeah,
new thing
I
falls
guess.
in.
I don't know.
But yeah, like the idea of someone can just be sitting down on their couch and then randomly just anxiety comes in. To me, that's crazy because I've never had that ever in my
I
life.
get that all the
That's
time.
just
I
like-
get that as
I
well.
have moments
yeah.
where I have a slump where I just feel like shit, but I like not anxious because I know what anxiety means. Because like I was talking to Tim about it. I was like trying to describe it to him
Yeah.
like so we can understand a feeling because it's just feelings. How do you describe feeling? So I'm like
Anticipation of an
when
ambiguous future.
when I have a shitty report card, that's how I describe it to them. That's how the conversation went. When I have a shitty report card, and that's high school when you have to show it to your parents,
Mm-hmm.
and I know I'm gonna get my ass beat when I get home, and that drive
That
home,
ugly-
that
That
commute
is like
home,
your
you
heart
is in
expect
your
to get your
ass.
and
ass
the
beat.
fucking feeling inside
The
that
dread?
you cannot,
Yeah.
no matter how much you try to rationalize that it's just you just feel anxious, blah blah blah. The feeling of it feel like nothing is enjoyable. Everything is just fucking sinking all the time, and the reason I that was my first moment of feeling pure compassion for especially Tim when he was describing when I said that and he said yeah that's literally how it works.
Yeah.
That's how I'll feel like that's for no reason. I'm like Jesus fuck bro that sucks.
Yes.
To have no reason for
And
that
not
shit to
and
knowing
it
come
just
up.
why.
happens.
Not knowing why.
Not knowing
And
why
not
is the
knowing- 'cause
scariest
I feel
thing.
like not knowing
and not
why
knowing how
makes
long
it
it's gonna
even
last.
worse.
Also, not
'Cause,
knowing
yeah,
how
it's like
long
a
it's
bad
gonna
trip,
last.
right?
It's like last night. I've been like really coasting. Like I've been like feeling really nice for the past like 3 weeks or so. And last night I was like trying to go to sleep, and then just out of nowhere,
Just
I like, boom, and I was like, oh my god, how long is this gonna last? Is it gonna stay? And like even today, I just feel like a little bit, kind of like I felt so like coasting, and then I start to worry about like how is this going to impact my social interactions? Am I
And
going
you
to be
start
able
to
to
think
engage
it's the
with
thing
people?
about
and, like,
you, like what's wrong
Yeah.
with me? Oh, that's so trash. Yeah, no, when it's for no reason, I feel like it's way worse. So because we have a reason, you're like, okay, this is why.
Yeah, and when it's no
Like,
reason,
okay,
and it's
like,
like
I
once this
understand.
passes, it'll pass, and
Yeah.
then sometimes it feels endless.
I'm gonna get my ass beat, blah blah. It feels like longer to blah blah. But when it's for no reason, you don't know why, so you try to figure out why, which makes it worse.
Yeah.
And then you start thinking it's a you problem,
You
so
want to
you're
reduce
fucked
it
up.
to a fucking one outcome that may be it.
And yeah, and then that fucking not doesn't exist. When it doesn't happen, you think you're fucking crazy, and it creates more.
How do you
fucking
feel?
snowball.
Right now, I'm good. I'm chill.
Bitch.
No, I mean about
I feel
this, but also
patronized.
like this.
Oh no, I'm just makes sense.
Just it's so fucked.
What are you insecure
Why do you
about?
think? Why do you think people? Why do you think? Because it's a very. I feel like it's been becoming more and more prominent these days. Like
What is?
people being anxious
Mental
and shit
illness and
for
stuff?
no like
Yeah.
specifically just anxiety as just a thing that happens for no reason. Like that happens a lot, and especially within like teenage,
This is
young
interesting.
adult
Information.
people.
So, my
Why?
friend and I were talking about this, and she has like an anxiety disorder. Just like experiences a lot of social anxiety, like all the time, and like more than most people. Like sometimes when people say that, I'm like, okay, like I understand, like you experience anxiety, but like I've really like witnessed it with her, and we actually kind of like had this really interesting conversation where. In part, we realized that potentially the reason for like anxiety being heightened in our generation is that because we're so much, like you said, aware of the complexity that's like going on around us. You said, what makes you anxious? Complexity. It's like once you're aware of the complexity and the connectedness, but you haven't necessarily developed the tools to be able to like deal with that.
Too much coming.
There's like just too much coming and
Too
you
much
become really
stimulation,
anxious.
yeah.
And I think that like in the past there hasn't necessarily been like a like access to information or like there's
Just
there's
the
some
news,
sort of like
newspaper. That's all it was.
newspapers, but also like there's some sort of like metaphysical transition right now that's happening in like the general consciousness of the public. It's like it's in the stars. It's like in the universe. There's like something happening, and it's been recorded for it to be like around this era. And I think that like people are generally like tapping into, because everyone has like psychic capacity, right? And like people are generally tapping into like that kind of like in between space more and more often. But again, we don't necessarily have the tools, especially in this like society. We have to like seek those things out, and oftentimes like we're not raised in ways that like will equip us to act that way. And so what is born is anxiety, because we have this consciousness without the
it's what-
tools to process it.
It's what we're talking about, the spiritual revolution. It's like
Yeah, spiritual
this
revolution, yeah.
existential moment where like, okay, everything materially is mastered.
Yeah.
We know how to do all these things. We're so good.
I've downloaded
But
so many things.
we're still
Wow.
not happy.
We're still not there, and we're still, and I think it's
Fuck.
partially because like the like no matter how many tools we gain, the social structures and institutions that we need to like participate in and like navigate throughout our lives don't accommodate those modes of thinking, and we're still like reproducing narratives that are kind of like counterintuitive to that.
I thought
consciousness
the
in our
Porsche
lives.
was going to fix everything.
Yeah.
Why am I still depressed? All right, this is 50. We're 2 weeks away from a year.
Let me check on Instagram.
Good fucking job. Thank you guys for coming. This was probably the longest episode.
Probably.
It's among,
Feels like
it's
the longest.
50
amongst
minutes?
The longest. I
This is
don't.
not 50 minutes. This is like an hour 40, 50.
Are you
This is
serious?
an hour and 30.
Oh my God.
3 minutes.
It's 4:30.
Thank you guys for coming.
We started at like 2:30.
2:30 at like at 3.
Thank you guys for coming very
Bye,
much.
everybody.
It's always fun to talk. I felt like this wasn't separate bubbles interacting, and I felt like it's one bubble. So it felt very nice.
It did feel nice. It was a nice.
Let's see.
Thank
It was
you.
a nice exchange of
49.
energy.
49.
This is 49?
Uh,
Oh shit! All right. Okay. Oh, I have to wait fucking 3 weeks.
Give yourself money.
Oh, I've asked it at home.
We want to record.